Sorry, go, and then I'll ask Beth my question.
Yeah. Well, the podium has to be, so, we're gonna call the meeting to order.
Okay with that.
So, we are meeting where Finance Committee today is, January 27th, 2002, 7:01. We will start with, the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How's everybody doing?
Good.
So, tonight's the fun night. We will go right into warrants. Meg and I were just talking. Believe it or not, we didn't make a decision on what we were going to do first. We historically, I believe, and I figured we could have a quick discussion. I believe we historically do the schools because there's only a few articles. I'm not real rigid on it. So do we want to continue with what we've normally done, which is the schools?
I'm fine with that.
Is there anybody who's going to, yeah. I'd rather have you guys in agreement on it.
Sure.
Okay.
Before we start, can I ask Beth one question?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
All right, Beth, the figures that you gave me for the tax rate for 2021 for John Stark and Ware, the 411 for John Stark, so when I look at my spreadsheet for what I calced for what the rate's going to be for this year, it's like if we approved, say we approved that, we didn't approve their budget, it would be 5.2, and it doesn't make sense. It's like a huge jump, even though the spreadsheet they've given me, like that they say this is what last year's budget was and this is what this year's budget is, it's a decrease. So is maybe those figures off? Should maybe the John Stark actually be like 5.21?
She's finding you.
Okay. Because I was looking at it tonight and I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. Hi.
Oh, she's answering that?
Yeah.
So I have the Ware warrant. I don't know that I have the Stark one.
Well, here, I will give you one.
Well, I mean, you don't need to give it. We can share it.
I can give it to you. It's okay. You can have it.
I don't remember
I have
getting
another
one.
copy one. I don't think I ever.
So you were holding out on me. You
I was
had one.
holding out on you. Yeah.
I get it.
That was what it was.
Fair enough.
You know,
Did you, we're waiting.
trying to make you figure it out on your
Oh,
own.
she is.
Yeah, good luck with that. How's that working out? Did you get the, is she looking up the questions for you now? Is that what-
She's looking into it. Yeah.
Do we want to wait for that answer? Is that one of those critical? Because I wasn't completely following.
It's money that we return.
Yeah, it looks like it was the revenues at the end of the year that they were able to return, so it reduced their appropriation.
Okay.
Again, all revenues are estimated. when you
Yeah,
look at
I get
that.
what you're saying. So that that's their budget, but then they returned money. Okay, because when like we look at the spreadsheet, it's showing like even if we voted no, it's like a 26.5% increase. So that's because they didn't spend all the money, they returned the money.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I was like, what is going on? Okay. All right.
Where are you getting 26.5?
So the second sheet, the 2020 tax impact, I had to redo that. I did it.
That's this sheet?
Yeah, that sheet, because I didn't have, it wasn't taking from the correct cells. And I meant to print off copies for everybody, and I just didn't get a chance. I got home late.
So is there another copy that we should have?
If I email it to you, can you make copies? Okay.
Is there any benefit to projecting, or you think that's more trouble than it's worth?
I don't know. It might be more trouble than it's worth. I'm just not hooked up to the internet. Let me see if I can't do that.
I got a Wi-Fi here if it's easier. I know that the buildings isn't
You want me
fantastic.
to do that one? Oh, I could have connected to my own Wi-Fi. I didn't even think of that.
All right, well, you decide.
See, it's, you know.
There's my hotspot. It's a funny password, so don't say it out loud. Everybody be
Which
on
one
my...
is it, though? It's not popping up.
Tom's Wi-Fi. Super secret.
There it is.
Tom's
All
iPhone.
right. It's easier than mine.
It's I love finance. 2021.
It's something close to that. No. Oh, boy.
FC rocks.
You're funny. No, he is nostalgic, that's for sure. All right. And I apologize about that, guys. I was looking at it myself at home, trying to figure things out. I was like, wait, these numbers aren't right. That's because the cells weren't updated. All right. I just sent it to you.
So just to clarify what you're sending.
I just sent her the tax impact sheet so she could print off the, that second tab, that's the 2022 tax impact.
Oh, this one
because
right
it
here?
shows the percentages. Yeah,
Okay.
and the percentages that were in there originally are incorrect. Because some of them were showing that I think like even John Stark was going down. So like Ware is going down, well, their no is going down. So there wasn't, it was showing even for all yeses that it was going down, I believe. It wasn't taking from the right cells.
So then are we in a position where we can
You can,
start
we can
reading?
start, yeah.
Do you have a preference? You pick.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
All right, so we're gonna start with the Ware Schools District. Article number 3. So, see if I'm doing this correct. I'm gonna read the article, and then if there's a motion to recommend or not recommend, I welcome it. So Article 3 for the Ware School District. Shall the Ware School District raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant, or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $17,287,816. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $17,122,852, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the district or by law of the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013, what is that, 10 and 16, thank you, to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Majority vote is required. What's funny is I was sounding out the numbers, and then I realized it was written next to it. Oh, my God. Do I have a motion to recommend or not to recommend?
So move to recommend.
So I guess I made the motion.
I second.
Okay. Jeff made the you have to make the motion first.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
to-
sorry.
To recommend the article.
Correction, Megan.
I don't remember how to do it.
No, it's just,
Oh, okay.
that was for Leah's benefit.
Oh, okay.
So Jeff and Megan. So we are open for discussion and debate. Where do you guys want to start? We can go straight to a vote if you want.
Let's not all talk at once.
It could be a quick night. Okay,
Yeah, I can start. The proposed budget, if you take away the offsetting for the food service was removed, is, I think, about $427,000 above last year's actual budget, 2.57% increase. The default is 1.58% increase. I don't support the article, but I feel that there could have been increased reductions in the proposed budget, but I've spoken to that at earlier meetings, and I don't want to belabor it. But I think that staffing-wise, I think the number of classes, and with the student reduction, they could have reduced some of the classrooms per grade at Centerwoods, which would have reduced the proposed budget, because people are what costs us the most money. And last year, they did make amendments at the at the deliberative, which moved savings from one category to another on the warrants, and it actually reduced their proposed budget below the default budget, which is why they, and the proposed budget was approved last year by the voters.
May I
And at
ask-
the end of the year, last year, the Ware School District did return over $500,000 to offset taxes in Ware through Department of Revenue to be passed along. So I feel that the 1.58% increase in the default budget would be sufficient to get through this year.
Correct me if I'm wrong, just, when we originally voted, we voted to recommend, did we not?
Correct.
I thought that was the case.
Yeah, I think that
I've got that.
Yes.
Last
I've
year.
got last
I know
year's.
it's not completely relevant here, but Bill's talking about the series of events. I think it's important to understand.
Yep.
Okay?
In fact, I got the warrant articles from last year and what our recommendations were if we have to refer to them.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was just more, was it yes or no? Does anybody have any other input or comments? Yeah, and so I'm gonna, sorry, procedurally, because everybody's got masks on, I can't always tell if someone, so I think we'll use hands as best we can.
Because what I had written down was that we
Sorry, you're
didn't.
next.
No, I would support it as it stands.
After the deliberative, I think.
Okay, I changed that.
Hang on a second.
Maybe I didn't write it down.
Do we need to stop for a second, and we let Tom ask his question?
I don't have a question,
They'll come
I'm just
look at-
saying that I support the article. I support it to recommend it. I think that the difference between the default and the proposed is small enough that we should go with the proposed.
Liz, and I see you shaking your head. I mean, if you want to come sit at the table or whatever you're comfortable with, you're even welcome to come around. I just need you for you to be on a microphone. That's all I ask.
I also support the proposed budget, and with the circumstances that the school has had to operate with COVID and staffing and shortages and inflation, I think it only makes sense to support the proposed.
Go around. Anybody? So, I'm sorry, Mr. Kirk? Right ahead.
For many years, our student test scores in the elementary schools have been below state average. Not in all areas, not in all years, but over time. And the school hasn't been able, or so far has not changed that. And that disturbs me because what we're paying for with our tax dollars is an education. And to me, an education means at least as good as the average one in New Hampshire. And we're not getting that here. So the idea that we are going to approve the budget, the proposed budget, when the school district is not, in my opinion, doing what they should be doing and hasn't for probably more than a decade, is a reason to send a message with the blurb that something needs to happen, that the education has to improve and that the test scores have to go up. So I have a problem with approving the proposed budget.
Neil, do you mind if I ask you just a question? Do you have, and so genuinely, sincerely interested, in terms of scores, can you maybe enlighten me just a little bit on the data? Because I have not looked at scores.
I don't know if I can find it, but this
Didn't
is,
they send us something?
Yeah, they did. I got it.
I mean, I'd be interested to know.
If I'll look for it while you're looking.
It was this sheet.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I completely overlooked that.
It's okay.
It's gonna be under here.
I looked at it quickly, honestly.
So state,
So they're saying, that's the state, and this is where it is. For like 2018.
okay, so I mean, I
So
think
it's-
what we're looking at here is, yeah, there is, to Neil's point, there's a deficiency between, Ware School District and the state by about 12% on ELA, which is English Learning Arts.
Correct, yeah.
And then math is 2638, and science is 1937. Okay. Thank
It's
you,
like
Neil.
12 in math.
Yeah,
you go, okay. You're looking at this chart?
Yeah, that's what we're
yeah,
looking
that's
at,
it.
yeah.
I can't see that far, but that looks like it.
Yep.
So, I think what I'd like to do is give my perspective. In terms of classroom size, I don't believe that the net effect of reducing a classroom size will have a major effect on the budget, but more importantly, I don't believe there should be 10 kids to a class, but I'm not an expert to say, but I don't necessarily think that jamming a bunch of kids in a classroom to save money makes sense. Let's put it that way. You know, my wife is a teacher. My opinion is not that because she's a teacher. My opinion is that because I have someone that understands what happens in a classroom and how you teach kids. So I don't want to get into philosophy into teaching kids, but I do know, being exposed to quite a few kids, we'll just leave it at that, with learning disabilities and all of those things. Classroom size doesn't matter. So leveraging whether or not, you know, kids to a classroom and whether we approve the budget, I don't know if that's the best argument, with all respect, you know, to Bill. And then in terms of scores, I mean, it's real data, I can't argue with that, but at the end of the day, scores are one factor on how you think the school might be performing. There are so many other factors that go into it, and frankly, in a lot of cases, scores are made up by the political administration and not the people that understand how to teach. And so make your decision based on that. That's, you know, that's my opinion for what it's worth.
If I may add, with regards to the average salary of the educators in the area compared to where is also below. And so when we think about cutting more resources for teachers and considering like a zero-sum game, does not prove further productivity, higher scores, or economic growth. Thank you.
James was next.
Yeah, just, unfortunately, we're at a point where we still have to think about everything that's coming down and what we're gonna be looking at, just pure dollars and cents wise. And while I do agree that larger classroom sizes are not as efficient in terms of, you know, pure education as better student-teacher ratios, this is a very large chunk of money that's going to be going to our taxpayers. And anything that we can save anywhere is going to be helping out everybody's pocket in the end. Would I like to spend more? Yep, but there are going to be some other things that we need to spend some money on too. And so I just think if we're going to shave, we can shave a little bit off of this one, you know, that'll help us down the road as we make other decisions.
Thanks, James. And Bill?
I just wanted to counter, the word cramming in a classroom, I think is inappropriate. The current numbers, I mean, we've dropped in the elementary school from 2017-18 to 2021-22. We dropped from grades 1 through 4, 573 down to 457. That's 116 kids. And when you spread them across, you now have class sizes that in the first grade are 15 and a half, averaged out, 15. In 2017-18, there were 21. You could reduce one of those 5 classrooms and still come out with a classroom size that's less than it was 4 years ago. So I'm not talking about cramming kids in a classroom.
What year was that 15.5?
That's 2020, that's today.
It's currently.
This is from the school district.
Hagan, where's the net difference between, I'm sorry, Tom, did you have a hand up?
No, I'm a proponent of small classrooms in the primary grades. I think that the smaller we can keep them, the better they're going to be. Also, when we look at performance, I think that we also have to look at, and I don't have the figures in front of me, but over the years, how many default budgets have we had as compared to proposed budgets, and whether that level of funding has overall had an impact, not just on staffing, but on technology and other factors over the years. So, you know, I think as we look at this and say this is where we can save money, we'll go with the default budget. We have to consider, what does the default budget mean? Is it going to be a reduction in staff? Is it going to be a reduction in expenditures for technology? That would be up to the administrators to decide once they have the money to work with. But I would go with what we've been given as a proposed budget, because I believe that they have put together something with a level of expertise behind it, and that we should go with that.
I just had a quick question. What is
Yep.
the net dollar amount? We've got
I was just
percentage.
gonna
know it's
talk,
gonna
I
look-
was just, as I talked, I was gonna say that. So, the net dollar difference on a $350,000 home for the difference in, if we say no to the budget versus if we say yes, hold on, I did this, I just wanna make sure that I'm doing it correctly, because I think I took it off of if we said yes and no to everything. I did. Yeah, sorry, can't type today. That's not right.
About
It's like $45.
About 165,000 difference between the default and the.
Yeah, so it's, but in the tax difference on a $350,000 home, it's about $45.
Could you explain that in this chart, or Tom, could we have an updated chart? This is Megan's spreadsheet, tax
Yep.
impact 22, updated. And what it looks like to me is that there's a $160 difference between the 2 years here.
But the all no's and the all yes, that's also including the contracts. Whereas, so you have to look at the 2022 articles, and you have to just take the tax impact for just the budget, because
Is that on this sheet? I didn't
it's on
see
that
it.
first sheet, the 2022 articles, it did not change. That was on that first tab of that.
Leo, did you get this one? Did you get this one? What's she showing you?
This was a different tab, though. This is the
This,
second
I know,
tab.
but this is the only one that changed, because this one was the
So
same.
it didn't change, that's what he's asking. So
No.
what we're really talking about now is the difference
But
between.
he's talking about this sheet.
Thank you.
I made more copies of those if you need them.
Okay, thank you.
You're talking about the articles.
I'm talking about the articles.
I know you're talking about the articles, so it's about $45.50 just for the Ware School District in dollars on a $350,000 home.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for the net difference between the yes.
Oh, you mean
From
the
default-
difference
default,
between
yes.
the, oh, I get
I
what you're
wasn't
saying.
specific.
I'm sorry, I was like, so,
If it was my sheet, I'd just put the calculation, but I don't want to write it, actually, I can't.
164, that
165,
5,000 Bill said it.
165,000.
That's why I was like, what?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, it's
Bill said it while we
165,000.
were in the middle of it.
You're fine, you're fine.
That's 13.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that we were all clear on what we're debating, which is the 45 and the roughly $165,000.
And I'll just echo what James said, like, I've looked at it too, like, there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike from, the town and everything. And I had the same, some thoughts, I'll be honest, about like, well, do you vote no for the Ware school budget because, the teachers really deserve the raise and we don't want to lose more teachers. And then that creates an even more bigger issue with our test scores. And when you look at the test scores, 2018, we were almost on there. 2019, we dropped a little, I believe, and then COVID hit. And there has been a significant drop since that. And then, of course, the staffing, Jackie has talked about, how do you cut staffing when we don't know the future? We don't know how many kids we're gonna have. We don't know, all the houses that are coming up, all the kids and all those things. Are we, would they propose a budget where they cut a teacher or two or whatever it may be, and then come September, we have classes that are overwhelmed. I don't think this would be the year, if I was in charge, that I would cut a staff member just because there's so many unknowns. But I also struggle with, because there's so many unknowns, do you give that increase after last year they gave back all this money? I just don't know. I'm struggling with that myself on which way I should go.
I'm on the fence as well with this one. For a couple of reasons. One, we moved here from where my kids were in 40 kids a classroom. But they had the best scores in the district. So we came here because we thought, okay, smaller classrooms, better education. And in the 5 years that we've been here, we haven't seen it. So I'm just on the fence. It's a hard decision to make, and I agree. You know, there's a lot of stuff coming down. I think, you know, especially with DPW and their needs. I don't know, that's my focus, but I think it's a hard decision this year. I'm on the fence, definitely.
And I mean, I think it's an interesting conversation. I think everybody makes good points. You know, are we getting are the taxpayers getting the value out of the school systems that they're paying for? I'm just not so sure that I'm the authority to say that we are or we aren't. And I hate that. My big concern is an acute focus on scores only.
And I don't think that's the focus. I mean, that's one factor of it. I think it's, and I won't speak for Lisa, or, oh my God, I just used your wrong name. I'm
Okay.
sorry. It's been a really long day with tax returns.
You call me whatever you want.
I know what your name is, Leo. It's my sister's name. I think that it's more of like, you know, like we've talked about in the past, like, even though we would love to, you know, approve everybody get all the money they need to do the things that they want to do, we need to look at the bottom line and, you know, can we say to the taxpayers, like, give them a $780 increase? Like, yeah, even all knows there's still going to be like $621, and that has a lot to do with the money that was returned to the taxpayers last year. However, I struggle. I struggle with this one.
Right, Tom?
Well, just one thing about the schools is that the money automatically goes back to offset the next year's tax rate. Unlike the town, the Board of Selectmen would have to set a certain amount to impact taxes, but it's, the schools, if you have 500,000 going back, I don't think we should penalize them for that. If their management of their budget allows for that, for whatever reason, it goes directly back to impact the following year's taxes. My point is simply that I don't think we should look at it and say, you can't have that because you gave back this much last year. I think that if they did, that's fine, but they are looking at the needs for the coming year, and we should go on that.
The only thing I'd say is, if they gave it back, that means they didn't need it that particular year. And if, why should the taxpayer give his money away for a year so somebody else holds it instead of him? It's the taxpayer's money. If they're not going to use it, you know.
Well, different circumstances, different years, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why.
I mean, if something crazy comes up, they do have that ESSER bank, but that is restricted in how it can be used, but there is some money there that can be used to offset certain items that are COVID-related. So, I mean, that there is some flexibility, I think, within the budget, managing their budget as they move forward.
Anybody have a recollection of if there were funds returned the prior year?
Last year, they returned over.
Sorry, that
No.
meant the year prior.
2020.
I don't have that information. I don't know. I don't recall that.
Beth, would you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I can find out.
Jackie?
I don't want to make it about the return money, but now everybody's talking about it, so it would be good to understand.
Jackie, you're saying yes, there
Yes,
was?
we've consistently returned money,
Okay.
because we budget for a GMR that comes in lower.
All right.
We use COVID funds where we possibly could to offset and be able to return. We shut down and aren't spending as much, so yes. And
So
I
Jack-
believe
But-
that's shared, that might be in that document I shared with you, but if not,
Jackie's saying that they have in prior years given money back because of lower GMR, meaning health insurance, and using COVID money for certain expenses that they could.
That would have applied to last year, though, right?
But last year, the GMR came in higher.
it came in, but we had COVID funds and expenses shifted because of
Which you still have moving forward,
Yeah.
COVID funds. Yes, that's what I was saying.
I don't know if we got that document. I'm looking at all the different tabs. Unless I'm just missing it, but I
Yeah,
don't see
maybe
it.
maybe it's-
Okay.
Okay. Well, is there any other discussion? Seems like we've got some people teetering and some reluctance, and I hate to push the point, but now's the time if we've got other comments, right?
If I may add, when I look at economics from a general macro innovation, we look at the youngest individuals within a population based on investment. And we can also look at the other end of the spectrum and also look at the needs and services and investment on that end. And when we look at our children, it's important to consider that is the innovation in the future of this country and town from a micro level.
I think we're ready to go to a vote. The one around the room last time, last chance. Leah, you ready?
Start at the other end.
No, I meant that you ready. Oh my God.
Don't start with me.
No, I meant,
Leah goes
I
last.
meant are you ready to keep track?
Yes,
Do you want me to switch you to last?
yes.
All right, let me switch my order. Hold on.
Well, it helps me type
I
to
understand.
get everything in.
You're looking out for her, Megan, huh?
I was trying.
All
Just
right.
like a note for all of us.
So we are voting currently the motion is to recommend the Ware School District Article 3. Tom, you're at the end of the table, so we're going to start with you.
Sorry, Tom.
No, I'm fine, I recommend, vote to recommend.
Okay, James,
No.
Tom Downing. Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm going to vote to recommend. Megan.
Yes.
Mr. Spring.
I'm gonna vote to recommend.
I'm a no.
Bill. Shocker. Transparent, it's all good. Liz.
Consistency.
My vote to recommend.
Neil.
No.
And last but not least, Leah.
It's like having to choose what you want to eat off the menu.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's like going to dinner with my kids.
I'm gonna have to say no.
So we got
So I count 4 nays and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to recommend. The motion passes.
5-4.
To recommended 5-4. So we're gonna, correct me, we're gonna move on to Article, I'm sorry, I said that wrong, excuse me.
You-
It was to Article 3, excuse me.
The only thing, can I just give a recommendation as we move through the articles, since you want me to draft these things, the comments?
Do you want to have some?
No,
so-
not a whole lot of discussion, just give me a couple bullet points that support that.
And that is what we did last year, I think.
That
So-
support the position,
okay.
then I'll put them into,
Thank you,
and
Bill.
then I'll get them around everybody.
So, so for a reminder, and especially for, we have one new person, which is Liz, and Jeff wasn't here last year. When we had an article that was this close, we felt like it wasn't a strong recommendation because it was so close to a split. So we tried to just make some points on both sides to support, either argument, if you will. That was the fair thing to do. So now would be the time as if you wanted to make a couple of the points for or to not recommend, and Bill will take those, come back with, make some statements, and then we can debate with them about how we
I
want to
should
tweak
have
it.
probably wrote them down when we were discussing, it's probably just repetitive. I'll try to do that as we move through the articles so that I can save time, but
It's really bullet points at this point, though,
just a
right?
bullet, just a bullet,
I'm looking at,
Tom?
you're almost always the first one, so I'm looking at
No, I'm
Tom.
just thinking of phrasing it here. What I said to begin with, but it could backfire on me. And that is the difference is not so great that we should vote in the default budget. I think that we can afford I think we'll put it this way, the proposed budget that was presented, I feel is affordable.
The $165,000 difference.
And I'm in the same place Tom's at, so I don't need to make some
Okay.
additional comments on that.
Where it's close, I can put some of the other, the condescending, the counterpoint.
Not condescending.
That was a purposeful Freudian slip.
Well, you know what I mean. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Counterpoint.
Opposing viewpoint.
Opposing viewpoint.
So, Tom, as a counterpoint to that, I'd say that our school budgets are one of the largest single line items in our, in our taxes, and shaving any percentage off of that provides a significant savings to the taxpayer.
it's a low percentage, but a higher dollar amount.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
1% of 17 million versus 1% of
Yeah.
7 million.
I'll probably just add something. I feel there were other cuts
Yeah,
that
I mean,
could have been made that
I think
didn't,
this-
like was done last year, that wasn't done this year. I would probably put something.
I think
There
that
could have been other
the
changes,
gist
other
on this is
reductions.
pretty clear, I think, for most of the table.
I think I got enough to work.
Okay.
And then you, certainly, if I write it up and you think there's anything in there that should be changed, that's why we come,
Yeah, it
I
was,
just-
it worked
I just
out
give you-
well
I
last
just give
year.
you a boilerplate, and then you guys can
Yep.
Okay.
make changes and whatever.
All right, so I'm gonna move on to Article 4, which is, I'll read it. Shall the Ware School District vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Ware School Board and the Ware Education Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels over those paid in the prior fiscal year. So 2022 to 2023, the estimated increase would be $242,000, $273. And in the following years of 2023 and 24, it would be $322,433. And further raise and appropriate the sum of oh man, it's redundant, I should have just kept reading it. Sorry, $244,273 for the 2022 and 2023 first fiscal year. Such sum representing the additional cost attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation and the current staffing levels, ? This appropriation is in addition to warrant Article 3, the operating budget. Majority vote is required.
I'll make a motion to recommend.
I will second the motion. And discussion may ensue. I will go.
There you go.
I don't think we pay our teachers enough money compared to other districts. I think that investing in our teachers is a very good investment because you're bringing in, oh geez, I'm trying to think of the appropriate word.
Talent?
I have to believe it's gonna attract more talent. Thank you, James.
More seasoned.
Yes, and believe it or not, some people just go to another job despite what their heart might tell them to make more money. It's unfortunate, it's the world that we live in. Some people don't have a choice. And I don't think that this raise is going to attract every single teacher in the state. I think this will expose us to attract more talent. It's common knowledge, we've had this discussion, I've been here 3 years, and every year talk about how underpaid our teachers are. I want to reiterate that when we were talking about the budgets, and the teachers in particular and what they make, when they get to the higher scale here, we don't actually pay them enough in comparison to other towns, relatively speaking. But this is an opportunity to be just a little bit above the median, if I remember correctly, enough to tip the scales to bring some younger teachers in. I guess I'll stop there. I don't want to rehash the whole argument. Tom?
Well, it all ties in with other discussions that we're having as far as the schools, the performance and so forth, because the consistency of staff, especially when you look at the fact that they have a lot of in-house training. You train somebody in-house through workshops and so forth on a specific concept, and then a year or two later, they're gone. You've lost the value of that training. So I think that holding on to our staff is important. not just because of individual experience, although that's part of it, but also because the district has ongoing training when they have days off from the regular school routine in order to bring in somebody for workshops. And you don't want that to leave the district. You want it to stay here and be used. So I am in favor of it for that reason. Reasons, whatever.
Bill, go ahead.
Okay. I'm a no. Total cost of the contract, 2 years at $244,000, 1 year at $322,000. It's about 2 years from now, we'll be paying $810,000 more than we're paying today for the current teaching staff. Okay. It's a 5% increase across the board each year. Town employees are getting 3 in the proposed warrant article. People off scale are also going to get 5% in the teacher's contract, not the 1 year bridge that we had last year, but the contract before that, there was an emphasis on making sure that younger teachers coming in, that we could get them with the pay scale. So there were some adjustments made in scaling on impacting the hiring of first-year teachers and those early on in order to get them and retain them. And if you look back at, in the last 2 years, the numbers that were provided by the school district, they've only lost 10 and 13, I think it's 23 teachers, and the 2 years before that it was 40. So that has had an impact on retention. Now, there may be other reasons. I think Jackie addressed that when she spoke to us, that the COVID and other stuff going on, that may be an anomaly, but the numbers are there. I'm only looking at the numbers, and that's what they're telling me, that had an impact. Now, if we're just giving everybody the 5%, I'm not sure it's reaching the right people. I think it's a high number, and I think it's going to cost the taxpayers. The other thing I don't like about this contract is the parachute on the end, when people going out the door are going to get 50% of the health care paid for them from age 55 to 65, 2 per year. And that will take a while to accumulate, but eventually you could have a system where you've got 20 people in the hopper over a 10-year period getting half their health care benefits paid for a two-person plan, that when you add up those numbers, you can get a couple plow trucks a year for the town. So I don't like paying people after they go out the door. I like paying for people who are impacting the children and educating them in the system, not after they go out the door. I don't think that's going to save money. That's going to cost us money in the long haul. So I don't like that. That provision really jumped out at me, and that's why I really don't like the contract. Along with just the total cost, I think it's excessive.
Well, can I?
Leah, of course.
I don't think it's accurate, really, or I don't know if that's the right word, to compare a 5% increase to the town who only receives 3, because if the teachers were being paid what they're supposed to be being paid, they wouldn't have to have such a large increase. They could go with a 2 or a 3% increase instead of a 5% increase if they were at the median where they should be. I think that if we don't pay, we get what we pay for. And if we don't offer a better salary, we're going to continue to get maybe a newer base of teacher, a younger base of teacher that isn't as qualified to teach the kids. I know they have to start somewhere, but I think we need a better base of teachers here, and in order to attract that, we need to pay. The cost of living nowadays, I find it surprising how teachers live on the salaries that they make. And my mother's a teacher, she just retired. So I have a little bit of insight as well on teachers.
Yes, Neil?
I don't have a problem with a 5% increase. But what bothers me is this contract is business as usual, with the exception that Bill said. Over the decades, we've recognized that certain teachers at certain stages, and the superintendent mentioned these, maybe it's the 3rd year, the 6th year, the 9th year, whatever it is, are leaving in significant numbers, and we're a training ground. This contract isn't going to change that, because by the time other communities raise their salaries by 3, 4, 5, 6, 7%, we'll be in the same relative position we are now. So this doesn't achieve what we need to achieve, which is not to give everybody a 5% increase, but to give increases where we find teachers are leaving for financial reasons. The superintendent does exit interviews, and she knows this. I agree with Bill that this money that's paid to teachers who retire to cover their health care costs is a bad idea. In theory, it could induce a teacher to retire a bit earlier than she otherwise would. But as a practical matter, I suspect this isn't going to have that effect. Many teachers are married and have spouses who would cover them in their health insurance during this transition period. If we don't say no to this, we're saying, sure, you can talk about all these problems, but it's business as usual. If we say no to this, then we're sending a message to the teachers and the administration that we need a contract that deals with the problems that we have and not an across-the-board raise. So I'd like to support this. In fact, I would be even willing to see a higher dollar amount spent if it helps solve that problem, but it doesn't. And just for the record, if this contract is passed, it will increase permanently, forever, $157 on a $350,000 house. Because we've locked that in, because they never go down. And in the future, it'll be $157 a year permanently on your taxes. It's not a reason to say no, it's a fact. I don't have a problem with $157 if it were spent wisely, but I don't believe this is a wisely devised contract for the children of Ware.
Tom?
Well, they're called collective bargaining agreements for a reason, because it's a bargaining process, and we're not directly involved in that process. We're like second guessing it after the fact. We don't know what was given up, what was offered in order to arrive at the figures that we have here. So, you know, I support it for that, but also because we've heard about the constant teacher turnover that we have in the town. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the superintendent said, whatever you do, approve this contract, because that's what we need most of all. We need to maintain our staff. And I don't think that's changed. I think that maintaining the staff is the top priority. And they have this collective bargaining process that's agreed to by the school administration and the teachers' union. And I think that for us as a small group to then say thumbs down to it is a real slap in the face to the teachers, and I think that that would have probably a major impact on teacher turnover, maybe not immediately, but over time. I mean, I think that if it's been fairly bargained, then we should look at it as a legitimate agreement and vote in favor of it.
Jeff?
I don't know, I'm sure you're aware, these last 2 years have been extremely difficult for these teachers. It has not been fun, and I feel like it's the least we can do as a town to give them a bit of a raise, to appreciate the struggles that they've had to deal with through COVID. It's just, it's been a challenge. And I personally, I think if they don't get this contract, you're gonna see a mass exodus. You're gonna see, I mean, because other towns are gonna be raising their rates, and it's been a struggle.
Can I go?
Absolutely.
Well, I agree with Neil's comments about, maybe we should be addressing the middle of the salary range. Jeff makes really good points about the last 2 years. If the last 2 years hadn't happened, I'd be like, yeah, I totally agree with that. However, giving the 5% raise across the board, we're not going to attract, like, if these teachers who are younger and go to other schools more easily and things, they leave, then we just continue the training ground. The retirement benefit, I'm with you on, it's not exactly comfortable with me, especially as I know that, like, even corporations, when they do buyouts, like, they normally give like 4 years. And that's kind of it. 10 years is a long time, but I'm thinking that the majority of people who are going to retire are going to be pretty close to 65. As well as possibly this is the school's way of trying to stop mass early retirements because they're limiting it to 2. I don't know. This also encourages those people that we're trying to get those people with the seniority to stay, because then that increases our test scores. Then that helps with the disciplinary and issues that we're having, that we can see at the schools. And it helps with so many other things to have experienced teachers in the school that, yes, in a perfect world with the last 2 years not happening, yeah, I would like us to be giving more money to those middle-of-the-road teachers, well, not middle-of-the-road, but like the more experienced teachers so they stay, but then we're going to lose those new teachers, which we have a lot of them. That's where I am, that I think, as Jeff said, that if we say no, that we're going to be dealing with a whole nother issue next year. And I just don't, and I would hope that Jackie had made some indication that in 2 years when we renegotiate, that we could renegotiate out of the retirement benefit, and I would hope that our concerns over that they would take that into consideration, and that may be something, I would hope, that they were really looking to, and in taking that benefit away and giving them something else, like more pay, over the longevity of their career than that retirement benefit at the end.
So, for the folks that have been in town for a while, probably recall that we had similar problem with retention with our police department. And I know it's not the schools, but the rate had a lot to do with it. We talked to the chief about it, and so I got to see it happen with the police department, and it wasn't fun to have a decimated department. Now, there were some other issues in the distant past. I'm talking about the last, I think, 2 years. What we paid had a lot to do with it. There was someone who quit the night the chief was standing here, and it was just to go get, it was $1 or something an hour a raise. So just something to consider there. People, I will remind everybody, people do leave for a little bit more money, and right now, the gap that we saw on the charts that, Jackie had provided showed the middle of the experience group is where they're dropping off. And so, don't you want to retain the talent that you have now and make them happy and have them a comfortable place to work? They're going to be less likely to just jump ship if they're a little bit higher in salary.
Can I say one other thing, Tom?
Yeah.
Someone had mentioned that the town is only getting a 3% raise. I think the thing we also have to remember is that the town, I think very rarely, we don't vote for the town raise. So this 5%, it's making up for those years that we don't approve the teachers' contracts. Whereas the town consistently, almost every single year, I think maybe I've seen it once in the 17 years I've been here, we voted no for the town contract. Maybe it's more than that, I don't know. But that's my original thought, is that, that's why.
Yeah. I just point out that the last 2 teachers' contracts were we supported, and they were voted on and approved.
Yes, because they were minimal increase, because they were just status quo.
The Finance Committee deemed the results of a negotiation reasonable. And I think that we have an obligation as a taxpayer to also look at, not rubber stamp a negotiation, but to say, do we view that as reasonable? And the only other thing I'd say is there are added benefits that, when the GMR rate goes up, the taxpayers, we continue to pay, we pay more in to support the health care coverage. So even though they may not be getting a raise, they're still getting benefits paid into the state retirement system and the increased health care benefits being paid for. So
that the other towns, like, maybe they get a raise, just, because I've kind of looked into it a little bit, like the retirement thing and the other benefits
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
But and talk to people who deal with this, like, but then the other towns, they give other benefits too that we don't give, and so it's hard to say that, like, the GMR, because then there's other things that, like, even if you look at the thing that they provided, like, you look at, like, just like the off-grid and the longevity bonuses and stuff that these other towns give that we don't give. Like, yeah, we do give some stuff, but not, like, close to what these other towns do. So I think there's.
And their
there's-
taxes are probably higher.
Well, yeah, obviously, but their taxes are higher, but also, we're saying that we want to attract better teachers, or we want to keep the teachers we have, because, our test scores aren't what we want. So it's like, you can't say, we don't want to give you a raise, but we want you to give better test scores, because, like, how does you make somebody work even harder, or they're working hard to begin with, but then you're like, yeah, we're not going to give you a raise. Like, if I did that in my office, my employees would be like, yeah, okay. Like, I just,
Okay.
I struggle with it, Bill, I do.
Okay.
I don't claim to be an economist, but if you open a newspaper, look online, watch the TV, every one of them tell you that inflation's real for the first time in a very, very long time, significant inflation. And every single one of us in this room, in this town, in this country, are gonna experience that and pay more for everything we already are.
I thought it was temporary.
Transition.
I wasn't sure if he was serious or not. I had to stop. Oh my
Like,
God.
crap, do I have to give an
It
economics
was a
lesson?
joke, it was a joke.
Well, it's interesting because I was just talking to someone the other day, anecdotal, and I don't remember inflation because of my age. It happened when I was a wee lad. And this is the first time since then we've seen inflation at this level. If you look at the Wall Street Journal, there's a write-up a couple times a week about it. So,
7%.
thank you. God, you saved me. It's
Economist.
thank you very much. It's I don't know, maybe you can, was it the 70s, early 70s?
As highest in 4 decades,
Yeah, so
7%.
80s.
Reagan.
And the
Oh, we're not going
savings
politics, Leah.
rate-
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Listen.
The savings rate was at about 5% in 2005 and 2004, and that's savings rate based on checking and savings to our real interest rates.
Yeah, so I really just thought, let's just keep in mind the cost of living is real. I mean, it's not someone saying, yes, stuff costs more. It does. And I'm reluctant to say, look at the gas pumps, because it's always a joke, but everything seems to cost more and nobody likes it. And hopefully people get raises in their jobs, not just the teachers. It's just kind of the part of the way our economy goes.
So I wrote a bullet down. I said, with projected inflation, this contract may look good in 3 years.
Possible?
Who knows?
We may have universal health care by then, too. Who knows, right?
Oh, man.
All right,
Liz.
let's move on.
Yeah, unless everybody's got anything else, I think we move to the vote. And I'll start whenever Leah's ready to keep track. So we are voting on Article 4 for the Ware School District for the collective bargaining agreement.
And the motion is
To
approved.
recommend.
Motion to recommend is on the table. Tom?
Recommend, yes.
James?
No.
Tom's a yes. Megan?
Recommend.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
Liz?
Yes.
Neil?
No.
Leah?
Wait a minute. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up.
Problem.
Yes.
I just want to protect everybody's interest here. It doesn't make a difference in the vote. It would still be the same. If Jeff's wife is a teacher, is this something he should abstain on?
I was
by
wondering
rec
that too.
Or no? I have no problem.
I have no issue with it.
I have no
He
issue.
should not abstain on this.
Okay,
In the years, he can't be on the school committee,
okay.
Okay.
Okay, I
He said
didn't,
that
he-
right out of the gate.
Okay.
but he
Okay.
absolutely can vote on this.
okay, good. I only say,
That
it doesn't change the
clarifies it
vote.
for
I just want to
everybody.
protect everybody.
Well, if you were thinking that someone else probably was, but,
Perception, I didn't want it to be an issue for Jeff either.
so,
No issue.
6-3.
yeah.
6-3?
6-3, yeah.
That's what I've got. Leah, let me know when you're all set, and I'll read the next one here.
stay consistent
Bill, we don't, I mean, you've got enough for the bullets on that one,
I
right?
got it.
I mean, that was,
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
And if I miss something, you can always tell me
Okay.
this week. Yeah, I'll get them out to you by Monday, I hope.
we'll go over, before we leave, Naomi has some deadlines. Actually, you don't do the school mailer, do you?
Yeah, it's all one.
They are welcome to be part of it.
Okay,
And
so
I
then
don't
we will,
deadlines. I already
yeah,
got
last year, I just get confused because it's separate. So, yeah, we'll get the dates with her afterwards. All right, so, Leah, am I good?
Good.
Article 5, shall the Ware School District vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Ware School Board and the Ware Educational Support Staff, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels over those paid in the prior fiscal year? And further, I'm just going to go and not read this twice, and further raise and appropriate the sum of $90,150 for the school year 2022-2023, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation at the current staffing levels. This appropriation is in addition to warrant Article 3, the operating budget, and a majority vote is required. And we are open for discussion.
I'll start.
Bill?
I support it.
I'm sorry, we need a motion to.
This is,
Oh, I'm sorry, no one made a motion.
oh, yeah, you gotta make a, okay.
Bill is ready to go.
Ready to go on it.
All right, you want to make a Bill, you might as well make the motion.
Make the motion.
I'm not good with motions. Oh, somebody else just.
I want us to make a motion to recommend.
I move to recommend this
Okay,
article.
yeah, that's the
Second.
right language.
James second. Okay. Bill, now you can go.
It's a no-brainer. They only make $14 an hour now. It would raise it to 15 and a quarter, and 13.47 to 14.91 for paras to start. It's been a constant problem hiring. You see it on the boards all the time, hiring, need help, all that. It's $99,000. It's only a one-year contract. No-brainer.
Agreed, it's a no-brainer.
What's the percentage increase?
It's high, but it doesn't matter.
relative.
Because you're talking about crumbs to crumbs plus,
To Bill's point,
okay?
11%, was it?
14.05 to 15 and a quarter, whatever your math says,
get the
Neil.
calculator.
Peanuts.
Yep.
14 what?
Four-
05.
14.05 to 15 and a quarter.
9%.
Good. They deserve it.
I'd like to just jump in and agree with Bill because my kid works for Starbucks for more money. And it's a little sad to even say that, so.
This is one of those cases where I think this wasn't enough. It's not just the inflation increase that these folks need, but we need to be competitive with Starbucks in order to get people, and this doesn't do it. I'm going to support this because it's better than nothing, but I think the school district made a mistake by not raising this substantially, because we're going to have trouble getting custodians. We already have that problem.
I think the aides, I'm going to agree with Neil, but I think the aides are equal, if not more important.
Agreed.
Has anybody else read those signs as they're advertising for pizzas and subs instead of paras and subs? No, just me? Okay.
James.
Well, we had this same discussion a couple of years ago when they were saying that people could go to Dunkin' Donuts and make more than they could as a paraprofessional in our schools. It seems to still be true. Perhaps the gap has even widened. So I support it.
I mean, I think it's one we can go straight to vote unless somebody has an opposing, which you're welcome to do. All right, so we're going to go straight to a vote on this one. Tom?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Tom Downing is a yes, excuse me. Megan?
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill? Liz?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Leah? Okay. So it's 9-0, because I'll mess that up later. So that's 05, okay. And so it's unanimous, that motion passes to recommend. I can't do two things at once, ever. Neil, do you want us to just wait a minute? It would be fine.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So we're gonna, read Article, sorry, I lost track, we're on 6, right? Article 6 for the Ware School District. Shall the Ware School District vote to raise the appropriate amount of $227,000, $227,029 for the expansion of the current kindergarten program to a full-day program for the fall of 2022. Revenue in the amount of $246,000, $133 is projected from adequacy funding to offset this amount. This appropriation is in addition to warrant Article 3, the operating budget majority vote.
I move to recommend.
I'll second. So Tom Downing, Tom and Tom. Leah.
I got you.
I know we kind of got into this kindergarten thing a bunch, but I believe what the school district has presented to us as far as the cost offset for this. And it does seem to be that the town is in support of all-day kindergarten. So because of the cost and what I believe is public support for this, I definitely recommend that I'll vote for this article.
I vote for it too. You want to comment now, or?
Yeah, I mean, this is debate. I mean, we're not,
But it's a different situation than what it was the last time it came up. There's a lot of iffiness in where the program was gonna be, where they're gonna find a space, a lot of things that have been worked out here. We know where it's gonna be. We know it's gonna be in Center Woods. We know they're going to be able to make room for it there. Second thing is the adequacy money before didn't take effect the first year, so there was a big upfront cost. It was, I think, at least the second year, I don't know exactly. And so with the adequacy money, plus the fact that we're already paying $70,000 a year to transport at midday for the half-day kindergarten, it's just, to me, this is a no-brainer. The other thing is, I went online for the State Department of Education, and they list the districts that already have all-day kindergarten, and I counted 144, printed out a 4-page list of, and some of them are the poorest communities in the state. Claremont, Newport, Pittsfield, Allenstown, all have full-day programs already. I don't know what percentage of districts that is, but it certainly is a large majority percentage of districts that already have the full-day program. One other thing, and we're talking nationally about the need to have preschool, universal preschool, because they're looking at the need to have children learn greater vocabulary and everything earlier in their childhood. So to look at this all-day kindergarten program, it's not a unique thing anymore. It's an accepted practice through the state, and it's needed, because the more exposure the children have early, the better they do later. Some ways I heard just the sheer difference in vocabulary that they come in contact with is important in the early. It's so obvious just to state it, it's like time on task. Anyways, that's my pitch.
Bill? I was waiting for hands.
James?
All right. I'm going to disagree with that assessment. I don't think young children need to be separated from their families in order to get an education. I think learning vocabulary, learning colors, shapes, all those things can happen at home, can happen very well at home. And taking them and putting them in an institution is not necessary. It can be good for some, but you're assuming that the majority of families have some sort of a problem or are unable to educate their children, and I disagree with that broad stroke.
So, just a quick comment, really from the chair. I think that, both of your opinions are valued, and I think both of you kind of go a little bit past what the finance committee is talking about. But obviously, I'm not gonna not let you make your point and Tom makes his, but, is it fiscally responsible for us to recommend kindergarten? Do we believe the taxpayers believe in it? I don't know that we want to get in personal discussions whether we believe in kindergarten. Is it fiscally responsible or not? We just end up in this debate every year, and I
agree.
don't want to be debating kindergarten all night because, frankly, it's a sensitive subject because everybody has different philosophies on how they raise their kids. Yeah, Bill?
Yeah, no, my point on this is not so much that kindergarten, I don't support full-day kindergarten. It's how it was presented. The objective was to present a proposal that would formulate a strategy to pass full-day kindergarten. That was right out there in front on the school board. And the way it's presented is to say this is going to be a big money saver. I would like us in our comments to stress, if you want full-day kindergarten because you think it's going to be better for educating children and getting them into the system and getting them a better start and getting on board with the rest of the state, then by all means vote for this. But I would hope that we could put some comments down that caution that this isn't going to be a big savings. There is potential early on to either save money up to maybe $57,000, but it also depends on the number of students we get in, which will give state funding, and how those children are distributed. If you get it down to where you don't get 100 and you get 85, are you going to still spread them over 5 classrooms, or are you going to restrict it to 4? The school district has said, hey, we can cram, they didn't say cram, but I'll use the term cram because I heard it tonight, cram them into a classroom, we'll make it 20-some. But I contend that won't happen because historically they haven't been doing that. They've been keeping less kids in a classroom. So I would contend if you get 85 kids, you're going to end up with 5 classrooms, and you're going to be down to about a, give or take, $500,000 savings. My concern, though, is in the long haul, because the cost of additional staff is what increases more rapidly over time. And you're also going to make Center Woods no vacancy. You're going to fill up the classrooms, and you're not going to have future flexibility for grades 1, 2, 3, 4, should we have an influx of a lot of people with new houses in town. So I would just caution that get off the this is a money saver and say, do I want full-day kindergarten? And that's how people should vote for it, yes or no.
I completely agree with you, Bill. I understand that the school board brought it as a savings. I never once for a second was looking at it personally as a savings, because that's making some predictions of things that could and might not happen.
But don't you think that in our comments, we should be the ones to
Well,
address
let's see if we
that?
vote it, but yes.
Well,
vote,
yeah.
Yeah, but, right, so I don't see it
Yeah.
as savings. My point is, but my point, to my comments about kindergarten, I believe if it was a net zero, no increase, I'm supporting it, because that's the way that I was looking at it, just to support my statements.
I will echo Bill's statements. It was concerning to me that was how they put it on the school board, their, not to-dos, but what they were looking to do this year was to get the budget, to get full-day kindergarten passed. I am concerned that, the projections that they have are 85 students in 5 classrooms and everything. But, then I look at the years prior, that like in 2017, like we had 127 kids in first grade. Like, what happens if that happens? Like, what happens if we see an influx in these other grades? Like, there was no survey done or going out to like the local daycares to find out how many kids they have in preschool and kindergarten. I think there's just too many unknowns. And I feel like, in prior years it was pushed and it was like, here's an idea, let's go with it. And this year it's pushed of, oh, you're going to save money. I just don't know if it's really going to save money or it's going to cost us more in the long run. And it's also going to cost us that if we do need more and more classes, that where are these kids going to go? Where's the third grade gonna go? Is it gonna go to the middle school? Because I'll tell you right now, I'd far rather my fourth and fifth grader be at the elementary school than I would at the middle school. So I would hope that wouldn't happen, but that's concerning to me. And I'm not looking at the savings, I was looking more at, is this feasible for the amount of space we have? And, you know, I just don't know.
James, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
So philosophy aside, I think the school did put together a fairly compelling financial
Yep.
argument for this. The question of, is it going to save us, if you want to look at that, is it going to save us money overall, or is it just a small section of savings that we're not spending on travel, that we're going to be, that we're, you know, in the current busing versus, you know, is the program itself going to cost us more? And I think in general, we're going to say it's going to cost more to educate the students than it is to just have an extra bus route. That said, is it money better spent versus, you know, or, and is it going to be less expensive, or going to be continuing to be an additional cost to everybody going forward?
If I may add, the economic effects of perhaps going with the full-day kindergarten program would perhaps increase the labor force participation rate, because then you would have families that would perhaps be able to participate in the labor market where they've been caring for their child, or maybe perhaps with a half-day program, they can't work full-time. And also maybe perhaps they have their degrees in law or history or something that's not education. And so when we think about test scores, when you have kids that you have to bring up to par because perhaps they were educated outside of the framework, they're still tested based on the framework when they hit the system.
As far as the, you know, the future outlook, the one thing that I've determined is we can do this for 10 years. We won't be able to predict what happens 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Yep, this could end up costing us more money. There's no question. I think our line of sight or visibility is a couple years out at best at this table. And I think we make the best decisions we can based on the visibility that we have. One thing I can tell you is from talking to people that have lived in town their whole lives, every so many years this town has a big boom. And I think there's other planning that has to happen about new housing development. And I think that we need to change the way that we look at building new homes so that we can support schools' infrastructure differently. I know other towns have different ways of doing it. So I think that's a problem that needs to be solved, but we could very well end up in a situation down the road where we have to build another school. But if that's because we have more houses and more children and more people paying taxes, I just don't think we can predict that right now.
I'm concerned with the space needs. I mean, Center Woods they kicked fourth and fifth out a few years ago because of space concerns. And now you're not adding a ton more kids with the kindergarten, but you are cramping that space some more. And yeah, I think we will be looking at a expansion of Center Woods, or probably expansion of Center Woods. I think there's room to do it, but that's a concern. That's a concern.
Go ahead, Neil.
I was on the kindergarten committee that looked into this. My takeaway is that there are short-term savings, but it's going to cost more in the long run, for the reasons Bill suggested. I suspect that one of the consequences is that we're using up extra space, or whatever free space we have, which is currently used for special education students and other kinds of students. And by putting the kindergartners in there, we will have to expand the school sooner rather than later. It's a fact. I think that's a fact. We'll have to expand it anyway, but question of timing, that's part of the cost. So we're using up our capacity. My sense is, despite what James said, and I think he's right, that generally speaking, kindergarten is likely to improve test scores, because it's another year of schooling prior to the time students take these tests. And while many children, and all children could, but many children do get these kinds of things at home, it will now be on a more coordinated basis, and I suspect scores will go up. There's another reason that we ought to consider, and that is, I think there are only 6 school districts in the state that do not have kindergarten, or some small number. I suspect that when people look at Ware and find, with school-age children, to find out that we don't have kindergarten, they start scratching their heads. And so I think this may, if we were to adopt this, may have positive effect on house values. Certainly it would avoid them going down for that reason. So that to me is a factor. At the end of the day, though, I think, Tom, I think you said it right. I think this is not really a financial decision. It's a sense of values and what people want to have for education. Most of the United States, well, I can't say that. I think it's very important that children get as much education as possible, as much formal education as possible, and as much home education as possible throughout their lives. And I think kindergarten is an important part of that. Not the only way, but an important part. So I'm going to vote in favor of this, even though I believe that this is not going to be a cost saver. A few bucks perhaps in the first year or two, but basically it's going to cost us money, as all education does. But because it makes a statement that Ware values education, it will positively affect home values, and I think at the end of the day we'll get higher test scores as a result of this. At least that's where I am today. Thank you.
Wasn't sure if I saw a hand on this side, but go. Okay, I think we're ready to go to a vote on 6. I am still on 6. Leah, let me know when you're ready, please, for us to call the vote.
Go ahead.
We're going to start with Mr. Clow.
I'm a yes.
James.
No.
Tom Downing's a yes. Megan?
No.
Jeff?
I'm a yes. I'm a yes. I struggle, but I'm a yes.
No.
That's Bill. Liz?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes?
And Leah?
Yes.
So I count 6 yeas, 3 nays.
Yeah.
Motion to recommend passes.
Oh, I forgot to mention one other thing that you should know, just because it probably ought to be in the blurb. This has been set up in such a way that you still have full music classrooms and full art classrooms. There's no art in the cart and music in the cart.
Thanks, Neil. I'm only disappointed we don't get to debate Article 7. Oh, yeah, actually, I think we'll leave this out. We're going to move to, sorry, Stark.
That we would be here till next.
That would not be a short debate.
Yeah.
Did you not see it? Critical race.
I would have come
Well,
with my
well,
jammies and a flask.
I feel like maybe I should have come with my jammies.
It's okay to go in your pajamas these days.
Hey, if you go to Walmart in your pajamas, you can vote.
You can.
All right. So we're moving on to John Stark. Let me see which one it is. This is the first time I wish I brought my reading glasses. I just turned 52, so but I think it just made my eyes worse.
When do you get to be 73?
Your eyes
You're 10 years ahead of me.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, so we're right to Art.
50?
I'm sorry?
You just turned 50.
I did.
I think you could make touch-up contributions to your retirement account.
And the AARP letters are gonna start coming. All right.
Surprised he doesn't get them already.
My wife did. My wife got them 5 years ago, and she's younger than me. It was awesome.
My husband's younger than you, and he's been getting them for quite a while.
I got my first AARP letter when I was 35.
Did you really?
It's like, what is this?
They were anticipating your retirement,
I guess
James.
so.
All right, let's go into Article 3. Shall the John Stark School District raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein totaling $14,292,743. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $14,292,743, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the district or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013, 10, and, what do we say, it was 16? XV1?
Close enough.
Yeah, to take up the issue of the revised operating budget only. So
Make a motion to recommend?
Oh, wait a minute. I got, you want to start.
I will second the motion. We'll give Leah a second to catch up.
Please.
Yeah, no issue.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I'm. Okay, now, who made the motion to recommend?
James,
Thank you.
and I
Yes.
seconded. So we're open for a debate on John Stark.
Taking it out of our hands, haven't they?
Yeah,
Yep.
really.
I mean, I don't know that there's much
I
to
don't know
say.
if we need a debate.
Well, you never know. I mean, that's why we do it.
Yeah.
Well, what's noteworthy is that the proposed and the default budget are both 1.4% below last year's approved.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. By what I looked at.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, if we
Yeah.
need, this is more of a
It's
blurb
I think it's
discussion. it sounds like.
1.4% below what last year's actual budget was, so.
Yeah, it is below it.
And, you know, in my mind, you gotta support it because it gives them an opportunity. What you want is that the money's sitting in the right categories, and they've made adjustments along the way to reflect what the actual budget's gonna be. That's what you always want. So if you got an option, and it's the same old, you wanna approve the proposed budget because then they've got everything in the right hoppers
Right.
to go.
That's a good point.
And it also reflects that they've, in the last, I want to say, certainly 12 to 15 years, somewhere in that range, at one time, they had over 800 students in that high school, and at under 600 right now. So I think the school board and the SAU have done a good job at reflecting, their budgets reflecting that drop in student population. And I know they have more flexibility with certain programs to make cuts than they do necessarily at the elementary, but I think they've done a good job on that, year after year.
Are you asking for a revote on the Ware School budget?
No. No.
Any other comments, debate? I mean, I agree. I think the SAU I think they did a good job, and I think they did a really good job here presenting. I know they talked about not filling vacancies and things like that. It's not like they had a good plan. So I think we know how this one's going, so I'll go around the table. I think we're going straight to a vote here. Last chance. Okay, Leah, when you're ready.
Yep, go ahead.
So Article 3 for Stark, we're voting on motion to recommend. Start with Tom Clow.
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tom Downing's a yes.
Yes.
Megan's a yes.
Yes.
Jeff's a yes.
Yes.
Bill's a yes.
Yes.
Liz, thank you. Neil
Yes.
and Leah.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. You want me to wait, or you want me to read 4?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Article 4, shall the John Stark School District vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the John Stark Regional School Board and the John Stark Teachers Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels over those paid in prior fiscal year, and further raise and appropriate the sum of $204,770 for the 2022 and 2023 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributed to the increase in salaries and the benefits over those of the appropriation at the current staffing levels. This appropriation is in addition to Article 3, the operating budget. Majority vote is required. Do you guys need me to read the increases? Should I read those too? Those subsequent years? Does everybody have this in front of them? Okay. So I think we just need a motion to recommend.
A motion to recommend.
I can second that, make it easy. Who wants to start us off? Uh-oh. Can you start us off so I can plug my computer? Someone, please.
I mean, does anybody have any discussion? Or do we just want to go to vote?
Not before I plug my laptop in.
No.
Okay, just asking. And nobody spoke up, like.
Oh, well, I can go again, but I'll keep it brief. I'm a no for similar reasons to what I did with the WEAR. Just, it's about the same. It's 4+%. After 3 years, if you look at the first year, second year, third year, it will be a $1,176,523 cost over what we're paying today.
I'm sorry, Bill, you lost me there because I see 204, 185,000,
Yeah, but
190.
you're-
Yeah, but you gotta add the first year 3 times.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You add the
I
second
knew I
year
was missing
twice,
something.
and you add the third year once, and you come out with a 1.176 million. And it's a big number because it's a 3-year contract and not a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but I still think that, I already stated, there's similar reasons.
What did you say the percentage increase was?
Yeah, I think each year it's between 4 and 5% on average, if I'm not mistaken. Jackie, I think that's what you had given us in the public hearing. Yep.
So,
So
Jackie,
it's
just for this,
it's slightly less than what the,
Yeah, the year 1 is 4.2%, year 2 is 4.31, and year 3 is 4.23.
from my perspective, I think it's the same. It's just really the kind of the same support that I had for the other article. I don't know that we need to rehash it, but you're welcome to.
It's the same thing. I could repeat what I said about the Ware school districts, and why I was in favor of that, and the same thing applies here. So I'm going to be voting in favor of it.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Neil?
just let me make sure that my numbers are right. If we approve this in the second year, we're going to be spending, where is this? $581,000, correct?
That includes the third year. So if in the first 2 years, because then I need to but I need to add the 204 twice, right? So the 204. So after 2 years, then it would be 595. So you want to know after 2 years or after
Well,
3
after the
years?
third year,
I'll tell
we're
you right.
permanently increasing the amount of money we have to raise in taxes by how many dollars?
I'm going to tell you right now. Hold on. I only could type so fast. I don't have my little keyboard on the side. Right. I should have put my glasses on too.
And I know you're younger than me.
That doesn't mean anything. I'm getting $1,176,535. The number that Bill just came up with, but
I thought it sounded familiar.
I thought we ought to went through this.
I know. We like to go through it twice.
Okay.
Okay, that's 93 cents on the tax rate.
I'm getting 66.
Doesn't 1,200,000?
But you have to remember that we don't pay it all because Henniker pays portion of it.
oh, John Stark, that's right, that's right.
How much of that is, you say it's 66 cents for Ware?
66 cents for Ware.
Okay. So it's 66 cents for Ware, and we just approved the Ware teacher's contract for 45 cents. Check that out to make sure I've got the number right.
Well, 45, because I didn't add the first year twice. See, this is what happens when I do it at like 9 o'clock at night.
But I'm talking
so-
about, not the total cost of the contract, I'm talking about the recurring cost.
No, I know, and that's what I'm
Year
doing.
two.
Because the year 2, so so year one, I have to add twice.
No. For my question, it's only the first year plus the second year, because in the I'm not asking for the total cost of the contract, which would be first year.
Oh,
plus
and that's
first
what I
year,
gave you for
plus
John
second
Stark.
year.
John Stark, I gave you the total cost of the contract. So you want it just the cost
I want
of,
the recurring cost. The recurring cost is what we pay in year one for Ware, plus what we pay in year two.
Okay.
And Stark, it's what we pay in year one, plus what we pay in year two, plus what we pay in year three. That's the recurring cost.
Yep, so the
that-
recurring cost is just year one plus year two. So for Ware, it's 21 cents. So let's go back to John Stark so that you have correct figures, because I misunderstood what you were asking for.
Okay, so the recurring cost is 21 cents, and for Stark?
It is, hold on, I'm deleting. Jeez, that's not right.
Uh-oh.
Do you know the
Yep.
split between Stark and Ware?
I'm gonna say, let's just hold and let Meg.
No, that's
let's
not
let
right.
Meg
Like,
get
give me
her
a
squared away
second so
here.
I can get it closer.
Yeah.
Jeez.
This is, what she's doing is not easy when you're on the spot, so let's just give her a second here.
It's 33 cents for John Stark. So the John Stark split is, so John Stark so say like the total budget of, that number, I'm trying to remember where the 2795. See, now you're gonna make me think about where I got these numbers from and how they add up. I actually have to write myself a cheat sheet and remember each year where everything comes from on the John Starks thing. So when you look at the John Starks, like say their default revenues or their proposed revenues, they actually will show you like a local tax assessment Henniker and then local tax assessment Ware. And that's where they get the percentages of what percent goes to where.
Yeah.
So like Ware has $6.7 million, whereas Henniker has 2.7. I'd have to do the calc to figure out, but I think it's like 60-20 or something like that. 60% to 20%.
I hope it's 100%, so it's got to be
That's 60-30, yeah, 60-40, whatever it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was like, as I was saying it, I was like, this isn't right.
What I'm trying to do is to figure out what kind of a permanent burden approving both of these contracts is. I thought the Ware contract was much higher than 21 cents that you have, but I would accept your numbers.
Well, I appreciate that, Neil.
So, where are we right now on Stark? I mean, do we have more debate, or are we going to a vote, or, Neil, do you got other questions?
Before I vote, I'd like to know what the permanent burden is going to be on Ware taxpayers if this were approved.
All right, Neil, you're right. It is more than 21 cents because I took off a number off of the second year. See, this is what happens when I do it fast. I deleted too much stuff. So it's a total increase of just the first year and the second year. So year over year, what we're gonna
Yep.
see, it's 45 cents.
Right. That's $157 on a $350,000 house. And what is it for Stark?
It is the 0.33 cents. It's 33 cents.
It's less than Ware. Okay.
I don't know how it's less than Ware. That doesn't make sense. You're right. Well, no, because it's a $581,000 increase, but you have to remember that part of that's taken over by Henniker. We keep going back to this. Henniker takes a portion of it, so,
that's
you know,
what's
that's
less.
why it's less.
And when you say how much it is in dollars, you're adding the cost for year one, plus the cost for year two, plus the cost for year three.
Correct.
Not doubling anything.
Nope, I'm not doubling anything. I took exactly what you asked me to do. I took the cost for year one, plus the cost for year two, and then added the cost for year three, and I'm just verifying that I didn't, because in Excel it doesn't put like commas and stuff, so you're like, did I erase a number? But no,
Okay.
we're good.
I thought I had a seasoned calculator. That one is seasoned. I've got a good one. I got a 20-something-year-old one, but that one's, it got me.
I have my graphing calculator still at home.
You got one beat. It's over 30 years.
Really?
Oh.
I have my
You going
first,
like that?
I have my first sales calculator when I get in sales.
So if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I had that with a ship, 20.
Adding those two together, it's approximately $213. In other words, by approving both of these contracts, after the contracts are finished, and assuming we never had another increase, the taxes on a $350,000 house would have gone up $213. That's a permanent increase in your taxes. That's what we're doing by recommending both of these contracts.
Costs money to educate our kids.
It would cost more if we sent them to private school.
True enough.
I'm just gonna wait a second, because Bill's got that question look on his face.
Yeah,
Just give him a second.
He's doing the math.
yeah, I do. Yeah, that's not a discussion figure.
So, I think we're ready to go to a vote then. Neil, you good?
Yep.
So we're gonna go to the vote on Article 4 for Stark, which is to recommend. And we'll start with Tom Clow.
Yes.
James?
No.
Tom Downing's yes. Megan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
No,
Liz?
Yes.
Neil?
No.
Leah?
Yes.
So I count 6 yeas, 3 nays. Motion to recommend passes. All right. And then lastly,
Does anybody have any opposition if I open up the window a little?
nope. Careful of the cord, trip on my cord, I'm gonna feel bad. They were probably praying for you to open it.
Probably.
All right, so, Leah, okay for me to read? You good? So we're gonna read Article 5. Shall the John Stark School District vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the John Stark School Board and the John Stark Support Personnel Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels over those paid in the prior fiscal year, and further raise the appropriate the sum of $101,864 for the school year 2022 and 2023. Such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation at the current staffing levels. This appropriation is in addition to Article 3, the operating budget, and majority of vote is required.
This is a one-year contract?
two.
2 years.
Someone want to make a motion?
Make a motion to recommend.
James, will second. Tom? Sorry.
I don't care.
I mean, this is fundamentally the same as what we were talking about for the same type of staff, right? There was, I don't think there was much variation, or was it?
It's a little different because the Stark contract includes food service and custodians, and I think the Ware School District is just the support staff. Yeah. So you get some variation, because food service and custodians in year one would get a 13% hike, and the office and paras would get an 8% hike. The relative numbers are higher to start with in the increase, and they'd end up higher than Ware, but you're talking a little bit of apples and oranges, because you've got another group of people over at Stark. But in principle, it's the same thing. It's difficulty in hiring and retaining people at that lower level and it's the same problem they have at both schools.
Bill, what's the percentage increase for custodians?
I think the first year it's 13%.
Food service and custodians is
Custodians,
13.
13%. That was as presented at the public hearing, and the office and paras is 8%. And in year two, it's an average of 2%. So that's why you see it's this big bump initially, so they can hopefully get people hired and retained, and then they're on a plateau where they get a smaller increase in the second year.
This is what I wish Ware had done.
Well, It's a negotiated contract, Neil.
Yep.
So,
I guess that's a compliment.
yeah.
This one,
Yeah, yeah, I like it.
from both of you.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the right way to deal with the problem that we're now facing with this staffing situation. And it's a shame that Ware didn't do that for the teachers.
Do you have any comments or debate? Are we going to a vote? Look around. All right, I guess we're going straight to a vote. So we will start with Tom Clote. Support of Article 5. John Stark.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
I'm a yes.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Liz.
Yes.
Neil.
Yes.
And Leah.
Yes.
The ayes have it. I count 9-0. Motion to recommend passes. Bill, I think you're in good shape to
good
get
shape.
started on the school stuff?
Yep, I got it.
I didn't want to assume, but, okay.
Nope.
I mentioned this earlier, if we're not done by the 2nd, you're gonna be continuing without me because I'm going on vacation, so.
Do we,
You can call in.
or,
I will be in the woods of Pittsburgh on my snowmobile, but thank you for the offer.
what I was
There's
gonna
no
suggest-
service up there.
Did you say the woods of Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh, New Hampshire.
Oh,
New Hampshire.
I thought he was talking about Pennsylvania.
Well, I'm sure they snowmobile there
Pittsburgh
too.
is well
I don't think
known
it'd be
for
as good as Pittsburgh.
No.
Pittsburgh's
New
known
Hampshire.
for its greenery.
Do we set a time limit for how long we want to stay here, and then maybe
I think now would be a good time to have the conversation because,
see
you
about
know,
meeting tomorrow night?
yeah, I certainly don't want to miss anything, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and Megan's probably more competent to run a meeting than I am, so that's the least of my worries. Do you have a proposal? What were your thoughts? I really hadn't thought about it, so.
I just was looking at the time. It is 8:48 right now. Yes, I know. That's why I was like, do we really, and if we have to postpone, can we meet tomorrow night? Is that possible? Because I just don't know what Monday is gonna bring. Tomorrow is Friday, yes.
Yeah, I mean, so let's put some context to this. I realize you
Let's see
question
what
put
everybody
out.
thinks.
When we looked at the calendars and we decided on the 2nd, the 2nd was when we were like, well, that's our kind of like the last and final, and that worked into the schedules. 1 second, Eileen. So I think that's why we're talking a potential extra meeting, because the 2nd, I don't know that it was a drop dead, but I think it was the last possible time for us to meet. And Eileen had some,
You need to provide 24 hours notice if you're
Okay.
doing a meeting.
oh, she's right.
No, I didn't
Shit.
think about that.
Shoot.
That's true.
You can avoid that by continuing the meeting. It's not a new meeting. It's
Oh.
a continuation of the meeting. You're recessing it until tomorrow at whatever, and that's perfectly legal.
Well, it also depends on what everybody wants to do, if they want to meet
No,
on
if that's
Friday.
what you want to do.
Yeah.
The notice provision isn't a barrier. If you're recessing the meeting to another date or continuing the meeting at another time, you don't have to have a new posting.
I actually think I remember reading something about that. So I'll tell you what, let's come up, see what everybody wants to do, and then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
Tom's gonna,
I think we should get going on it, see
Yes.
how far we get, rather than making a decision before we even start.
Well, I think Megan's point was, how hard and how late do we work? And that's why we're talking about if we were gonna go into another day. I think that was her
Yeah.
intent.
That was my intent. I know that in the past, we've been here till midnight. And then we rehashed the same things the next day.
One suggestion I'd have is, we can probably get bogged down in the budget discussion, the first article, but if we skip that and come back to it, we could probably blow through some of these other ones.
It's true.
First article, I think it's gonna go easy.
The town budget?
Well, if you look at the difference between the default and the proposed, it's only 19 cents. I think we could move along on that. But that's my opinion.
I'm not so sure about that, but.
Yeah, I don't know about that either.
I don't know.
I'd
I-
rather not try to blow through things. I don't know. I
Well, I
want to
just-
make good decisions.
I think that the budget is probably the most important conversation for probably the majority of us. The first article, I don't know that I wanna skip that, because it might be difficult.
I think we should just do Article 3 now, and then if it takes us an hour, okay, well, maybe we'll postpone the other
Yeah.
ones.
Sure.
Yeah.
My preference would be to do that.
That works.
I agree.
Okay. All right, so we are going to Article 3. Beth was getting nervous, so the electric kicker out made it wait another day again. We did last year, she reminded me. Shall the town raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $7,464,993. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $7,227,983, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013XX, whatever that is, to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. So I'll make a motion to recommend Article 3 for the town. Oh, no one wants to second it. Tom second.
Was there a second?
Yeah, Tom did. I'm sorry, it was Tom and Tom. Okay. So we heard from Tom that he thought it was pretty straightforward. Did anybody want to go down the other avenue on that?
Last year when we had this meeting, I had COVID, and I did it from my house, remember?
Remember that?
With those cookies under the door someone was talking about.
Yeah, my kids were shoving things under the door. Just food for thought. I haven't been able to taste or smell for a year. A year today is my anniversary.
Really?
Normally we'd congratulate you for anniversaries.
I don't
but
think
not
that's
in this instance.
congratulations.
I mean, so we're looking at, this, to Tom's point, a 19-cent tax impact.
Difference between the default and the,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think we need to pass a budget, and 19 cents doesn't prevent me in any way, and I don't want to dive into any detail for that kind of money. I don't think that the town did anything that is concerning for me in setting up this budget. You know, like I'm seeing each year, they're more and more transparent with us. I have zero concerns. I would easily support this. Anybody want to tell me otherwise? Go ahead, Bill.
I always wish, when I see the number 4.6% increase, I always want to make it lower. However, in this case, when I look at the difference in the proposed and the default, the department that I was most concerned about is for the guy that's sitting here. Because of increases in sand and the transfer station and public works. When I looked at it, the difference in his proposed and default is about $182,000 difference for the public works department. And I think the total town difference is 237. So you're looking at 3/4 of the delta between default and proposed is in the Public Works Department, and that's the thing that concerns me. So I'm kind of on the fence, but even though the number is higher than I want, I don't want to penalize a department that I think is doing a good job. Not that any of the other departments aren't doing a good job either.
Yeah, I mean, I think Benji's pretty transparent, and if there was one thing we've learned is that he tries not to ever ask for too much and only what he needs, and sometimes not exactly what he needs. So if he's, in my opinion, if he's asking for more, history's telling me he needs it.
But I'd also defer to, because I wasn't on top of the town side. I was more into the school side. So if anybody who was more on top of the town side has any other.
I can add some additional context if that's what you're looking for. I mean, I know that the materials Especially the salt. The salt was a big part of it. That was the biggest one, right, Jeff?
Salt went up
That's one of 'em.
astronomically.
Oh, my God.
Astronomical. Right.
And if you look at gas prices.
Yeah, that was the other one.
Yeah, the fuel went up like almost $24,000.
Yeah, those were the two bigger ones.
And then the salt was another 50, almost 58,000.
So that's, if I did the math right, that's $70,000 or $80,000 right there out of that increase you're talking about. Just, for context. Neil, do you have a question? Yeah.
Yeah, at the meeting on January 10th, the selectmen finalized approval of $277,299.53 in year-end expenditures. That, to me, suggests that the current budget, not the one we're talking about, had quite a bit of monies in it that weren't actually needed. They were buying LED lights and 10,000 for renovation to the bathroom and office at the transfer station, 50,000 something for the police department, et cetera. There's a public hearing on $40,000 for a truck for the building inspector. Then there's something, we're going to be discussing this later, but it's I think, related. There's quite a bit of surplus in this town, something like $2 million. I don't know the exact amount that we need. It's roughly minimum, according to DRA, is 5%, recommended is 10%, the range is like 5 to 15, of the budget that the selectmen should have for emergencies. Okay. They have far more than that. Indeed, they have so much that they're proposing to buy a full, $260,000 truck in one of the warrant articles and take it out of that unencumbered surplus. So there's money that is available in case of emergency, and I would think that the budget that they are currently operating on has a lot of money in it that was not necessary to do the things that the people had voted for. However it was done, that money wasn't spent on the things that we and the voters approved. It was spent for other things. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. What I'm suggesting is that perhaps the existing budget is larger than it needs to be, and certainly the proposed budget is much larger. Now, we can't go back, or the selectmen could have proposed a budget smaller than the default, but they didn't. We can't do anything about that. I just wonder what the virtue is of giving them additional money when they had more than enough money, including the kinds of things that you folks mentioned, salt and so forth, to take care of all of these expenses with the default budget. Thank you.
Tom, yeah?
Few things. First, the fund balance. You have to keep in mind that that has to do with cash flow, and the cash flow includes the schools as well as the town, because there's only one pot. The tax money all goes to the town, and then it's paid out to the schools usually on a monthly basis. So there has to be the cash there for that, and that's why they have to be conservative at the end of the year as far as what they give back, so that they keep it at a certain level so that the cash flow between tax bills and income is enough to run the town and, in fact, run the school districts too. So keep that in mind when it comes to the fund balance. It's an all-inclusive thing. Another point, but sometimes I can't remember two things. A lot of the money that was left at the end of the year had to do with salary lines. I went to all of the board meetings this year for the newspaper as well as for this group. But they've had a hard time hiring, like a lot of other places. They've also had openings come up during the year. That's why we have a town administrator who's also the tax collector, the land use coordinator, the everything you want to look at underneath her title right now. She could probably list it and fill a page. So that's not money that had to be appropriated because those positions were intended to be filled. The police department, for the first time since Lieutenant Hebert has been here, finally was at full staff this year. So, you know, yes, there's money there, but it wasn't inappropriately appropriated. It was appropriated for the purpose of hiring, and they weren't able to fill those positions. So if you take the police department at the end of the year, I've got this left. Anything we spend out of it now, we don't have to put in next year's budget. So, you know, that's the philosophy behind this. It's not like, oh boy, we've got this cash that we put in for extra money. Most of it had to do with not being able to hire and fill vacancies. And so it was put in legitimately because the intention is always to fill the staffing positions, but sometimes you can't do it. So, you know, and I believe there was still a lot of money that went back even after that expenditure that went into the unreserved fund balance that can be used next fall to offset taxes. I guess I'm saying I don't have a problem with those.
Just a quick point, if I remember correctly, because we haven't passed the budget, there's a lot of expenditures that are in the wrong places and get realigned when you actually pass a budget. You get an additional benefit where all the money, well, not all the money, but certain money's going in the right place, whereas now I don't believe it is, if I remember correctly, especially with the police department. They had to, you know, shifting things around and have, especially Chief Moore, he was a good example where he was trying to properly align now, current, and future expenditures, and by aligning them, it just gives, I think it'll give a much better view for us down the road. It's just an added benefit, like if it was a zero budget at a minimal, passing it, we'd get the benefit of that.
I'm sure that the town would have preferred to have all those positions filled.
Or at least Naomi would.
Yes.
They're getting close.
And I was just going through the packet that they gave us with like the 2021 expenses compared to the 21 approved budget, because it's something that I meant to do, and it all is mainly due the less spent than what was budgeted is because of salaries. And I'm assuming because of not being able to fill the positions.
Thank you. So are we going around the table? I think we're going to go to a vote, and I don't see any hands up. All right, so we're going to vote to on whether to recommend Article 3 for the town budget. We will start with Tom Clow.
I recommend.
James?
Yes.
Tom Downing's going to recommend. Megan?
Yes, recommend.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Neil?
No.
And Leah?
Okay, hold on.
That's okay, we're holding.
Yes.
So we have a motion to recommend passes 8-1. Thank you. That was quicker than I thought it was going to be, so that worked out well. I shouldn't say that.
No, you jinxed us.
I didn't say we're leaving early. So.
I think we've already
Every
passed
time I
that.
said we're going to leave early, it's twice as bad, so I'm never saying that again. So Article 4. You're going to help me with the deliberative read, right? Because you clearly I'm going to just lose my voice.
Do you just want me to start reading now?
No, I can. Well, you can. I was just teasing, though. I'll read 4. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $62,307 to be used for raises for non-union town and library personnel? If approved, this addition would become part of the annual budget recommended by the Board of Selectmen, and the tax impact is 5 cents.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second?
Second.
For clarification purposes, and I'm asking the question, this is the double raise thing, if this, okay.
Yes.
So, meaning they get 2 for anybody else that's listening. If they get, this is approved and then the other raise, they get 2, which is fine. It's, you know, from a percentage wise, it's still not a lot of money, if I remember correctly. Pennies. Anybody have any comments?
This particular one is for all-inclusive, right? This is for,
Are
all-
you talking about Article 5, that's the library?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Article 4. I'm sorry. Non-union town and library personnel. This is the one I read.
Yeah.
Primarily, it's like your EMTs, firefighters, and.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And your public works people.
Town and library.
And town clerk's office and staff.
Yeah.
It's non-union, the non-union employees. Includes the library. Yeah, the 3%, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I was thinking about
Yeah,
it
the
the right way.
biggest, the biggest workforce is public works, and then you have the EMTs that are coming, that have been hired full-time, I think,
Okay.
unless I'm mistaken.
Neil?
This also needs to be scaled in the same way the various other labor contracts we're talking about need to be scaled. The idea of giving somebody who's making $100,000 a 3% raise and somebody who's making $35,000 a 3% raise is, in this market, imprudent. It's fair, but it's imprudent. Too many people, for example, in public works, are earning too little money, and this would have been a way to increase it if we had scaled this. So 7 or 8% for the lowest paid, 1 or 2% for the more highly paid. This was an opportunity to bring our wages up so that we don't lose people at the bottom where we're having trouble filling slots. People are leaving because, as someone said before, the pay is much greater at Starbucks. So from my point of view, the selectmen had an opportunity to do something here to provide bigger increases for lower paid workers and smaller increases for higher paid workers, still dealing with inflation, and they didn't do that. And I find it very difficult to support this.
Bill, yeah.
I'd agree with Neil's comments, how we can't change that this year. But I think if we make, especially as we move to the next couple articles, we have an opportunity to make the point that the reason those other articles are popping up is exactly what Neil said. You wouldn't have the library thing. You wouldn't have the Parks and Rec. You wouldn't have everybody saying, hey, give us another crumb. If we took this article in future years and we could make a statement in our comments that says something to the effect of, you take a higher percentage at the lower end. Those are the people having trouble retaining, and maybe a smaller percentage in management and a higher percentage in employees, and a out-of-the-box way of looking at that in future years, and we could make that statement. We can't change it this year unless something changed to deliver it, but I like the comment, I like the idea, and I think it prevents other articles from popping up piecemeal. But I'll still support the 3% this year because I think it's reasonable with inflation.
I agree. It would be nice that if they did like other areas of workforce do, that you get, everybody gets that raise, and then they go out and look at, what are you paid other places, and the people who are the workers, they are getting those raises. And
Living wage.
yeah, they're being brought up so that they don't go someplace else, so that they're being brought up so that their salary is comparable, or at least getting closer to that average.
I don't want to get too far off, but I just want to make sure I'm completely clear, because I think they're good ideas. And I know, Neil, at one point you talked about giving suggestions to the selectmen. I don't know if this is one that you brought up, but I think what you're, okay. I think that when, are you describing that within one article, you would have a scaled raise within one article for different classes?
Yeah.
Are there classes, are the people classified?
No. It's based on salary.
Okay.
The lower
Well,
your
someone
salary.
someone said management, and so that's where I thought that's
Yeah, I was
confusing.
trying to-
No, and again, I'm sorry, I didn't want to make it confusing, I just wanted to know what your intent
Supervisor,
was.
employee, management, employee.
So, yeah.
However, you kind of know generally what I'm talking about, but it's.
I got a little confused, to be honest with you. So I'm clear,
Yeah.
that, I get what you're saying.
If, Tom, if in fact we can put a statement in to that effect, then I'd be voting in favor of this. But if that statement is not going to be in there, then I will vote against this. And the statement would be what Bill said.
Well, that's a little unprecedented, but I don't know that I'm opposed to it.
I'm not
So,
opposed to it either.
Tom?
With my 2 cents. I think the time to do that is to get involved in the budget process next year. You know, go to the selectmen's meetings and speak up either in public comment or ask to be put on the agenda so that it doesn't slip away and we end up right back here in the same situation, because this is the same article we've had similar to this just about every year for non-union raises. So I think that the time to address it would be then. My concern would be that if we try to tinker with it in our, and I don't mean that negatively, in our comments, that it might end up defeating the whole article. That it'd be very carefully worded, or else it might defeat the whole article.
I'll choose careful words.
I know you will.
I mean, so the spirit, again, this is different than what we've done before, but I think the spirit of it is encouraging the selectmen to look at more of a sliding scale so that they're to the benefit of the lower paid employees.
We implore them.
Is that, if we're in agreement with that, I don't see any reason why we can't.
Yeah, I would just say,
I think Neil's gonna vote yes anyway, just for the record. But I think we all agree.
well,
I'm listening to what you're saying carefully, Tom.
You better be careful, because I don't think he likes Starbucks, so he might just.
I don't,
Yeah, I'm not against the concept, I just don't want to mess up the vote this time around, so.
I think the idea is a good idea, so.
I'll
So
stick
give
it
Neil's credit for
I'll
that.
stick it in there, and then we can hash it over next week.
Yeah. All right, so, voting?
I just want to.
Oh, please.
So I just want to point out that if we don't vote for this, then we're not giving raises to the people at the bottom,
Yeah,
despite the people that are at the top of the pay scale.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, was that a question or a statement?
No, that was a statement.
True statement.
I agree with your statement. Okay. So for Article 4, we're going to vote, if Leah is ready.
Yes.
Tom?
Oh, I'm voting in favor of that.
James?
Yes.
Tom's a yes. Megan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes,
Liz?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Motion to recommend passes 9-0. Let's look at number 5. Would you mind? I literally am starting to lose my voice now.
All right, Article 5, shall a town raise and appropriate the sum of $6,407 to cover the cost of increasing the hourly wage for the Ware Public Library staff by $1 for each employee? What is with the question marks? This represents wages, payrolls, taxes, and New Hampshire system contributions for 9 months. If approved, the addition would become part of the annual budget with an estimated annual cost of $8,060. Oh, I'm supposed to say, recommended by the Board of Selectmen, estimated tax impact is .005 cents.
I move to recommend the article.
And I'll second. Before we go into debate, I don't have a problem if you start talking, or do we're in a recess for 1 minute while I go grab a water out of my car before I lose my voice.
I was gonna, I'll run to the restroom. You fine?
Okay, so we're gonna
You wanna
recess
recess for a second?
for,
Yeah, you have to leave that on.
yeah, that's fine. I wasn't gonna touch it. We're gonna recess for 5 minutes. So it is, I see 9:14. We'll come back we'll call it 9:20. I need water. I'm not gonna completely lose my voice. I know we got it in the car. Don't say anything bad about me. The microphone's on.
We'll just write it down.
Well, unless you want everybody to hear it.
You can go right and around the elevator, down the stairs to handicap. Yes, sir.
Still stand.
So the clerk always screams at me about 24 hours.
getting up to. Yes, right.
Or we should all be doing jumping jacks.
Yeah, yeah. It's getting chilly now. Yeah, a little chilly. Keep you awake. Keep you awake.
You guys are probably getting more to the wind, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel it on my legs under the table.
Okay.
You and I both.
Yeah. It's okay, 13 years in Alaska.
Which, it's not bad, I mean,
No,
I'm always hot, so I'm never cold. but.
I'm always cold.
The older I get, the colder I am.
And every February, North Carolina looks nicer and nicer.
I still love the winter, I still do,
So when I look at that thermometer out the kitchen window, it says 10 below like this morning.
Yeah.
That is too cold.
Yeah.
it's been a cold stretch. It's been a cold.
It's a missed opportunity, and this was.
It's gonna be 40s and 50s next week, though.
I saw that.
A little
So it's
January-
gonna go straight to muddy, slushy mess.
Not quite. Got a little January thaw going on.
Partially frozen. It's funny, I thought I had my car, I keep extra waters in the back of my car. That's what's left in my truck.
Frozen?
Partially, but that's fine.
You should start.
Luckily, my kid's been driving my truck around, otherwise it would be a block.
How's that going?
They're putting a third rack and pinion in it today.
Everybody can understand.
They put one in about a month and a half ago, and it blew apart the day before yesterday.
Is that your Avalanche?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, your
Her
pickup?
Malibu.
Oh, her Malibu.
Yeah, and she brought it back, I thought it blew a line, he's like, no, the rack blew apart, the seal. He put another one in John down at Shorefire.
Is that a
He goes, I put it
common,
and blew out again.
is that a common thing, or?
No, he says Chinese junk, is his response. Said we're all battling it. So they're gonna, the parts store's gonna pay
Oh, shit. Pay labor and everything? Nice.
Well, I mean, he's,
Yeah,
you gotta
yeah.
drop the whole engine down to get at it.
Serious, you gotta,
That's why I didn't do it.
I'm gonna say, that's something, sounds like you could, you know,
What's that?
sounds like it's something in your game, but not.
Well, yeah, but my Nova's in there, so,
Yeah, you know, it's kind of locked your shop up.
you know what, I'm gonna use the rest of them while we have that 3 minutes, so.
I'm missing something.
We can bring it all. We got ARPA money from the state.
Right.
And we can use it for air quality and things like that. They opted to surplus out those expenses to hang on to the 950 so that we can.
You'll be plowing Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of petering out a little bit.
Am I correct?
It was gonna be more than a foot. They're down
Oh, I didn't.
they're down
But that was a management decision.
what, 3 to 5 Saturday and 1 to 3 Saturday.
Honestly, the New Hampshire weather guy or whatever, like, he's saying that we're still gonna get 10 to 14.
It really depends on the track.
Yeah.
We're really not gonna know, I don't think,
I know, right?
Tomorrow night, they said they'd have a better idea.
It's still up in flux, cause.
I really hope we get like walloped.
I do
50
too.
miles, 50 miles west, it changes the game.
I love it.
I'm like, especially on a Saturday, like, it's like, just,
Without giving us a say in that second truck.
It makes it easy for me on a Saturday, Sunday. I mean, there's less people in my parking lot.
Yeah, but it's misleading.
It's all
Because
good.
it says no tax impact. Well, that's
Oh,
not true.
My husband's not a New
It is and
England
it
guy,
isn't.
so he does not like it.
all right, on Saturday, we did
Not
that
a
one
New
year,
England
one year
guy,
that,
so
like, the school canceled, there was this huge storm. We took the kids skiing, and they were like little, like kindergarten and first grade, the snow was so deep, we had to push them.
Seattle.
And we were like, we got like one run, and we were like, well, that was fun, let's go home.
You don't wanna be in
Like, there's
Seattle.
so much rain there. He's like, but you don't have to shovel rain.
No, you don't have to shovel rain.
Well, we did last
Yeah,
week.
Sunday, yeah.
Those buckets, like shoveling buckets of
We
water.
make it out there
We didn't
early,
get there
like,
before the rain
we
came.
try to go like the first couple hours, and then as soon as the crowds leave, we're like, yeah, we're done. We're done.
You know, my short driveway.
I was out there.
Kendrick. No, no, Kendrick.
Oh, we just go to Pat's. We like, the kids look out, like 2, we go over there.
No, he's got a plow on the truck.
He had the truck at work.
Yeah, the truck.
We have gone,
Or he had the truck there and she
we took
was
a
uncomfortable.
week once we went to Smuggler's Run.
She did it.
That was a lot of fun, but it was very, very cold.
They were, you know, they.
I was looking over
They're
there.
older now.
I'm not gonna go argue with him.
So you just snowball your driveway?
Your son, we've been, my husband and I have been there, we just have to take the kids.
Out in the area down by the small barn.
Variety of trails and.
Yeah, and it's just bigger, yeah. I think we're growing out of Pat's Creek. I know I am, and the kids are.
I think the products, Cat Peak on this are so slow, it takes you longer to get to the truck.
I got a long driveway, but I got a plow and a truck and it's all.
It is close. It's nice for like being able to go a couple times a week and get the experience.
All right, if we could gather around, I think we're good to go here. I've never skied. Been been here 15 years.
Serious.
I haven't skied in 20 years. I keep saying I'm gonna do it every year.
We haven't skied, up until the kids came, we had never, well, no, I think we skied there once. And then the kids were little, and it was like, where else are we gonna
Go a
go?
little more if it's cold.
No, the rest of you aren't, so, my upper body is fine.
So we're here, right?
Yes,
Just
we're
read
there.
that.
Yeah, we're on 5.
Okay, so we're gonna resume. So Megan read Article 5. Motion to recommend was seconded. And so we are ready to discuss public library staff raise for $1. Bill? I'm sorry, I don't know.
No, anybody else wants?
No, I just think these next
Go
two articles, if we want to move along, these are two we can move along on. They're so straightforward.
Yeah.
Bill, say what you gotta say, that you're right.
Yeah, I'm a no. Yeah, and everybody's got to say, why? Well, because of the things we just talked about. If we keep sending a signal that, oh yeah, it's just a penny here and a penny there, pretty soon it adds up to real money. We all know that. But we'll have more of these. And I think if you say no here, you encourage them to do the right thing with the other article next year. Library staff currently, there's 3 that get $11+ an hour, which isn't much, I understand that. 2 $14+, and 2 in the $15 to $16 an hour range, and 1 in the 23 or $20+, 23 I think. So they all get a dollar, and they'd also get the 3%. The other thing I say, I get out of the library, I love the library, I love the people there, but we haven't had a turnover either in personnel. So, again, we're picking, okay, we're hitting whack-a-mole, okay, we're gonna give them the extra $1 this year, and then we got Parks and Rec coming in the next article, they want an extra $1 here and there. Where does it end? So I say no. You know, I don't wanna pick winners and losers amongst the town staff. I want, they get 3%, they get 3%. I don't want to,
We did the same thing for highway a couple of years ago.
we did, and I voted against that at the time.
Was somebody else before me?
Tom, I think Tom just made his point.
Yeah.
I was waiting, or did you have something else?
I'm fine. I do support the article.
Megan?
I was just gonna say, like, it's kind of like what we're asking for them to do, they're doing. Yes, it's a separate article, but it's up to them on how they do it. Like, there was an example of, I think they said the children's library, and this is what I wrote down, it makes like $16 an hour, and the average is 21. The young adult librarian is like $14 an hour, and the average is 21. Possibly being devil's advocate, approving this sends the message that we should be paying those people who are the workers more money, because the director of the library, I forget what his title is,
Yeah, director.
he said that he doesn't get this. It's only his workers.
He
So,
gets
I
the
mean,
3%, he gets the Article 2.
well, he gets the 3%, but he doesn't get this additional dollar.
Correct.
You know, so I think that it's sending the message of, this is what we want to happen, that these people should be making a living wage.
James, sorry.
Going back to our previous discussion, I think the selectmen would be very open to having, to hearing suggestions on how maybe they can redo some things, but at this point, again, by voting no on it, then we're not giving anybody a raise. And I think that's something that we would want to do, is to bring them up.
Aren't these folks getting raises on Article 4?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
42
but this is a-
cents.
But this is a, again, going back to the arguments for it, is to bring them up to a point where where the library is a little more competitive in the general area.
I mean, if it's 3%, it's 42 cents on $14. Let's be clear.
So $1.42 is what they're getting if they both pass?
Right. So based on 14, 15 is 43 cents. So, yeah, they're gonna get a raise anyway, but it's 43 cents. Go to a vote? So Article 5, the voting to recommend.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, don't get all.
I'm sorry, I forgot to check with Leah.
Just speeding ahead.
Jeez, okay, go ahead.
So Tom was a yes. James?
Yes.
Tom's a yes.
Yes.
Megan's a yes.
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
Neil,
No.
and Leah.
Yes.
So I count 2 noes, so that tells me it's 7, passes 7-2.
Yep.
Article, okay. Want me to do 6 or do you want to do it?
I can do it. Leah, am I okay to read it?
Go
All right.
ahead.
Article 6, shall a town raise and appropriate the sum of $2,692 to cover the cost of increasing the hourly wages for the returning parks and recreation staff? Sorry, my mask is slipping. By $1 for each employee. This represents wages and payroll taxes for 1 year. If approved, this addition would become part of the annual budget. I'm supposed to
Motion.
read the recommended by Board of Selectmen?
You don't have to.
All right.
A motion to recommend.
Second.
You got Tom and Jeff.
Question?
Yes, Neil.
Do these folks also get the 3%?
I don't think so.
Beth
No.
is shaking her head,
They
yes.
do.
They do.
Oh, they do, yes?
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Yeah, I mean, do we really need to revisit this conversation about Starbucks again? We can, you're welcome to.
Hey, I'll jump in.
No, Bill, you got every right to say it.
I gotta say what I gotta say. Same reasoning, we're again, same reason, same discussion I had. The only other thing I'd point out in this one, and maybe there's another reason for it, if you look at Parks and Rec last year in expenditures, in the salary line, they did not spend all of their, they had about $2,000 that was unused.
Could they
Is
maybe
that
not
to the
hire?
COVID year?
I don't know. I assume the Parks and Rec Director gets a budget,
Yeah.
and I assume,
So
go ahead,
if
Tom.
Tom
Do
knows.
you have an answer for this?
One thing, they've had trouble hiring lifeguards. They've had long periods of time with no lifeguards on duty up there because they simply couldn't
Okay.
hire them. So that
Okay.
may be one of the reasons for
I don't think
that.
any of the times I went there was a lifeguard.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the last couple of years. Before that, there
Okay.
was always a lifeguard there.
Okay.
Weather. Thunder and lightning, they have to close.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
that makes sense.
Thunder
Okay.
and lightning makes sense.
Makes sense.
Weather, July,
So they had,
It rained all
so
July,
they
well,
didn't,
but-
they had people there that were hired, but they didn't have to pay them because they weren't
It
open.
didn't work.
So the budget line, but the Parks and Rec Director, if they had monies within their budget, could they not give somebody a $1 raise if they so desired, if they
I
had?
think we have a debate. I mean,
Yeah,
No,
you need to,
Oh.
yeah.
Can't do that.
Okay, oh, okay, okay,
We can talk offline.
oh. Okay, in any event, they do get the 3%. Got it. So I'm a no.
Go
Yeah, I was just that the park and rec budget is pretty bare, so there's not a whole lot of money for them to be moving around like that.
And those kids at Chase Park that man that booth and have to deal with the public at times and, you know, especially when it's getting closing, you know, when you get kids that they're trying to, I don't know, it's a tough task and the kids do a good job and they are kids. You know, there's an adult manager typically on site, but, they deserve a buck. I'm with them.
I'm a yes.
And just
Alright.
to clarify, this is $1.03 on $8.50 at the hourly
Do
rate?
you remember what it was? I think it might be a little bit more than that, but it's not.
I didn't write it down.
I think they
it's
got,
something
I
like
think,
that.
there was a warrant article approved last year.
Yeah, I mean,
for
it's,
them.
it depends
They-
on
they
how,
got-
you want a specific answer, it's around $8 or $9,
Yeah,
I think.
they
I think it
did,
might
they did get a bump last year.
Recommended.
There was an article that was approved, yeah.
Are you good with that answer?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. It's so nominal. We'll wait.
All right, so we're going to go to vote on this. Leo, when you're ready.
Go.
Tom?
Yeah.
James?
Yes.
Dee's a yes. Megan?
Yes.
Yes.
No,
Liz? Neil?
No.
Leah?
Yes.
Okay, I count 7-2. Motion to recommend passes.
hey, one thing on that, if I, not on revisiting the article, on the spreadsheet, I think you got 0 for something, and I know it's a minuscule amount. But anytime, I think Beth's spreadsheet always has a penny when there's money being raised. And-
I think it's because it's just not out to the third
Yeah.
decimal, that's all. I can put it out to the third decimal.
Well,
and
if you just put a penny on each one of those three, you know, the last one, this
yeah,
one, and
then
the
it
next
messes with
one.
the formula,
And
so-
then it'll be consistent with what the one in the back of this thing has.
While these numbers are accurate, I think that many voters will not understand them. And there may be a better way to express 0.2 of a cent than .002.
Yeah, I didn't create the spreadsheet.
No,
Neil.
no, no.
I just use it.
I was
I'm saying-
speaking to them,
Yeah.
but addressing you.
Okay.
I think that's what Bill's saying, to make them all a penny if they're less than,
I mean, we
I'm
can,
just saying, yeah,
we can
that's-
do it when we do our numbers, we can put a penny, like if we're gonna put something down, but I think for effect of us knowing, because if I put a penny, then it's not gonna have a true representation of what the actual tax increase is going to be. So like, this one that we just did, it's like 0.05 cents, so if I put a penny, it's gonna show, I mean, it's minimal increase, but,
We're talking two,
yeah.
the difference between $3 and $10.
Yeah, so I mean,
No, I understand that. I'm just saying that when you're raising appropriate money, if you put zero, they think, oh, this is a freebie. And it.
No,
Even the 1 cent. Okay.
yes. But I mean,
Okay.
this is for our use, we know that it wasn't a freebie. I'm not sending this out to anybody else.
So,
But when I re-upload it with all of what we voted on and everything, I put it so that there's 3 decimal places, so when you look at it, you can see that
Yeah,
there's actually a
I just
dollar
want to be
cost.
consistent with what the town has.
But we don't put this out to the town. When we write up our thing, we just put it, there's a penny. We can discuss it when we do our thing, that's fine.
so Article 7?
Sure.
Here it is.
Do you want me to read it?
Oh, go ahead.
Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $91,103 to hire 2 full-time firefighter EMTs? This represents the wages, taxes, and benefits for 25 weeks and certain one-time expenses. If approved, the fire department operating budget will reduce by $91,103, and this addition will become part of the annual operating budget with an estimated annual cost of $180,700.
Motion to recommend?
Second?
I'm just gonna state the obvious here. This is, I believe we've supported this in the 2 years I've been here, and if it's, I appreciated what the chief went through explaining the zero impact and our hard questions. I don't wanna say it's a no-brainer, but I think it was crystal clear. This is consistent with what our plan is, what the cost is, what the offsets are. And I'll leave it at that.
Fourth year of a 4-year program.
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. I mean, it would be foolish not to complete it.
But, anybody else? We can go straight to vote, but. Move the vote. All right, so Article 7, which is a motion to recommend, when Leah is ready. Neil, I'm sorry, did you?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that the offset is real. Never mind.
Leah, are you good?
Go.
So, Tom,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Tom Deasy, yes. Megan,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Neil,
No.
Leah.
Yes.
Motion passes 8 yeas, 1 nay. Article 7. Article 8.
Do you want me to keep going, or you want to do page
I'll
by
do some,
page?
we can just
All right.
split them up, so you have to do them all. Give my voice a little break. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $350,000 for the purchase to replace 1 fully equipped ambulance for the fire rescue department, with said funds to come from the fire department equipment and special revenue fund? Estimated tax impact is $0.
Move to recommend.
I will second. Tom and Tom. Discussion? Bill?
My only word of caution, I always want to look at how much is in that fund for future when we have to buy a fire truck or a tanker. And I think I checked with Beth, it was 699,000 about is in that now. And this will be an expenditure of about 350. But there's also a couple other items. I think communications radios next year, is that, could I ask the fire chief if he's here? Just to verify that that would be projected to come out of this fund next year? Is that a fair?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what you're asking, but.
Well, I just want to make sure that what's coming down the line to be taken out of the 699. I know at capital improvement, he's got
Okay,
rid-
so, if you wouldn't mind, let me take a crack first. The chief outlined his goals for what his future expenditures were on the CIP.
CIP,
And-
yeah, it
so,
has listed 125,000 for radios next year. Radio replacements, portable radio replacements. And I just didn't know if it was envisioned that, just because it's in the fund, I mean, in the pipeline, doesn't mean this is gonna be the funding mechanism. I just wanna make
I got what
sure,
you're saying.
I just wanna make sure, because in 2026 and 2028, also in the capital improvement program for the fire department, they've got a tanker and a fire truck. And I just, and
I saw that in the tanker is what I was talking
I
about.
support this article, but I always want to have an air of caution. I don't want to get caught short in the out years.
I don't see any
We
reason
always
why.
have money coming in the ambulance fund each year, but that everybody's comfortable with the balance sheet moving forward.
So the question of the chief now is the intention for the radios for next
No,
year?
is it, I guess my general question, are you comfortable, Chief, that there's enough in that fund and the projected revenues moving forward to fund this with the out year?
Yes.
Okay, he answered the question.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
I needed to hear it out to understand, because you
Yeah,
asked me if
yeah.
it was appropriate, and it sounds like it's an appropriate
Yep.
question, I guess.
Because he wasn't at the mic, we'll just say for the audience.
The
he
chief said
answered
yes.
Chief said yes.
Just, like,
Okay.
nobody has question.
Okay. Any other discussion on Article 8? Okay, I think we're gonna go to a vote on Article 8, and we will, when Leah is ready. All right, Tom, we'll start with Tom.
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tom Deasy, yes. Megan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz? Neil?
Yes.
And Leah?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0 to recommend Article 8. Moving on to Article 9. Oh, this is a mouthful. Article 9 is to see if the town will vote to join the Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact. The Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact is a district fire mutual aid system established under RSA 15430A. Membership will convey to the town of Ware and the Ware Fire Rescue Department all rights and responsibilities contained in that statute and by the Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact laws, and further to raise and appropriate the sum of $21,060 for the purpose of membership for 1 quarter in fiscal year 2022. If approved, the fire department operating budget will be reduced by $11,152. And this addition would become part of the annual operating budget with an estimated annual cost of $84,237. And this is estimated impact is 1 cent.
Make a motion to recommend?
And I will second. Discussion?
Question.
Neil, yes?
I'm not clear. If we enter this, do we have to buy the radios, or are the radios supplied by the Capital Area Mutual Aid Fire Compact?
They supply the radios.
They do.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're saving
No,
$125,000?
no, I don't think that's right. I think the portable radios are our responsibility.
That is- Chief, could you want to just, you're welcome to come up. In this instance, if we're confused, please.
Yeah, very short. The radios that dispatch uses that are up on the hill, right? The towers, all that stuff that's owned by Capital Area Mutual Aid. And the radios that are in the trucks, the portable radios, all of that stuff, we already own it. And is perfectly compatible with their system. So
But
there's no
that-
cost associated with that.
But that's the stuff that you're looking at next year, your stuff.
Right, so we still have the ongoing maintenance of our portable radios and stuff that's in the vehicles, just like we do now, but the major infrastructure,
Right,
right, we're looking,
If this article passes, will you have to spend $125,000 next year for whatever radios that was designed to cover?
yes.
quite possibly. What we're avoiding by going to capital area is when they rebuild the emergency services radio that the police use currently and we use, that you're avoiding the expenditure of $200,000 to $400,000. That's our portion of that new system. So,
That I understood.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
thought that the radios were included in our membership. They apparently are not.
the one that are
The
vehicle and portable.
The
radios.
$125,000 is our, whatever that covers is our responsibility in addition to the $84,000 for this article.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Yeah, I think, that, you know, that technically speaking, like, there's all different types of radios. There's infrastructure radios and towers and all that stuff, and then there's portable radios, and it's confusing. Totally get that. We haven't, I'll just say that, and understanding a bit about the technology and the way the chief explained it, I know we asked him some hard questions, he came back, and I thought that he gave me enough clarification to support the article, and understanding that it's pay now or pay later, and it seems like there's inevitable costs. And we have problems that we're solving. It's not like we're gonna need a radio someday. Our service isn't good, and it could get much worse. And it will likely get much worse if we do nothing.
And I think it, even though it says the subsequent cost is like $84,000 a year, but that's reduced by when we pull back from Goffstown.
The 26,000.
You lose
that we
40,
saved.
I think it's about 40.
40?
And, yeah, 40.
Yeah,
It's
we
about
did-
half. You get about
Yeah,
half
it was-
payback. So the actual cost moving forward is about 40-some thousand a year.
I thought the
That's-
ongoing saving was 26.
That's a part year, I think, a
But-
partial year, and the annual savings would be 40-some thousand.
Okay.
No, it's my recollection.
Yeah.
So there's like, I'll just, because I found his sheet of paper, it was 26,000 was the dispatch savings, and then the maintenance savings was almost 16,000.
There you go.
About 40.
Yeah, and then he had put in there the part-time EMT to offset the remainder. I know.
That was,
I'm
no,
with you.
let's not do that. We said we were gonna keep that
I
out.
know, I'm just,
Yeah, no, it's- we're not
that's
going
a
there.
different- That's a different.
Ja-
topic.
Go
so when
ahead,
I,
I'm sorry.
when I have the offset for recurring years, do we just want to put in the 26 and the 15? Because I have right now the full amount. Just so we know.
Our comments, I think I'm going to add, I want to add in there for clarification that the cost of this may be $84,000. However, there's a payback for discontinuing services in Goffstown for about 40,000.
If we vote to recommend.
If we, if
we
it's
vote to
recommended,
yeah.
yeah, if it's recommended.
Okay.
My concern about this is looking at the entire town picture. We've got a police department that's got some radio problems. We've got a fire department that has some radio problems. They also have dispatch problems. If the fire department goes off on its own, then the police department is going to have to carry the full burden of whatever they need. If the fire department doesn't go off on its own and joins with the police department, then we'll have two organizations sharing this cost. I don't know enough about the systems to know whether that analysis is accurate or inaccurate, but I'm concerned that by having these guys go off, and it makes sense to do what they're doing, there will be a greater financial burden on the town than if the police and fire together had some sort of a system.
My understanding, and Chief can jump in here, I think, and correct me, is that whatever the police spend is what the police are going to spend, and adding the fire department to it would be an additional cost. So whether we split or not, there's still going to be a cost associated completely separate from the police, for the fire department. So we're moving from a capital expense for the fire department to just a purely,
Contractual.
well, right, to a contract, to the operational expense of moving over to the
So
other system.
if the police and fire got together and set up one system,
It's
it wouldn't work.
It's, right, it would still be kind of piggybacking on theirs, but there'd still be an additional cost for the fire department.
It was also my understanding that you can't use the same system, correct, as the.
Actually, so
Police can't go on this.
they
Police
can't go on the
can't go on
capital
the-
system.
Okay.
Cap area does not
Yes.
service police.
Sorry. Tom had his hand up. I just want to make sure.
Oh, that was one of the points that I was going to make. This could only be for fire anyways. And I think that Bob explained a lot of other benefits that would go to our being part of the capital area for the fire and dispatch as well on the handout that he gave us and in his presentation.
Yeah, I was just saying, I agree with Tom. I mean, I support it. I think it's the best decision for us now. I mean,
I agree.
Oh, one question. We can get out of that, right?
yeah, we
A
talked about,
year's
remember we
notice
talked
or
about
something.
notice? You might not, there was a meeting, was there a meeting you missed?
Yeah, it was here.
Yeah, there was,
Thank you.
yeah. So, for anybody, the viewers, it's 18 months' notice, the chief said.
And then there was no significant penalty for leaving Goffstown either.
No, so I'll just answer the question. The chief explained it, it's a question that we asked, which is there an exit clause or an exit cost? And he said no, because they resolved that years ago. It used to be 18 months, and now it's the same as the police department, which was either 30 or
30 days.
30, yeah, 30 days. How'd I do, chief? Good? Yeah, I'm just trying to speed things along, sorry. Any other questions, discussion? Move the question. When Leah is ready, though.
Yep.
Tom, Flo,
I will support this, yes.
James,
Yes.
Tom's DZ, yes. Megan,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Leah.
Yes.
Motion passes to recommend 9-0. Article 9. Moving along. I'm just gonna read, okay to read, Leah? You want me to wait?
May I?
Oh, my God. I went to a vocational technical high school. I just want to point out. My English is spectacular given my education.
You may read.
Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $21,013 for the purchase of one fully equipped frontline police cruiser? This will replace a vehicle that has already retired.
I was gonna say, did you read 71,000?
71.
I'm sorry, what did I say, 21? I
Yeah.
told you I don't have my reading glasses on. Sorry, let me correct myself, $71,013.
It's not what you read, but I was like, I think I must have misheard.
Thank you. So it's a 6 cent tax impact. I will make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Jeff, second. Discussion? Nobody finds the humor from last year about fully equipped?
I was,
I'm sorry, I couldn't. Bill, were you first, or was it Tom?
No, Tom, go ahead.
I just support it. I really do because, they're upgrading the whole fleet and keep it on schedule and to move toward the four-wheel drives, I think makes a lot of sense.
Who was next? Bill?
I don't support it. I'll tell you why. The chief made his point that if he gets this vehicle, it's going to be put in patrol, which is what he wants. But then he's going to take one of the Chargers and he's going to ghost it, meaning it won't be used for patrol purposes. So what you have now is you have a Tahoe, you have an Explorer, and you have 4 Chargers, so you have 6 vehicles over there. And you'll still, when they have an administrative purpose for a vehicle now, which means running to court, running to storage, whatever it might be, meeting with an adjacent agency, in an intergovernmental meeting, whatever it might be, they have to pull a patrol vehicle to go do that. And it has where police riding through adjoining communities. That's one of the issues the chief wants to solve. He'd prefer to have a ghost vehicle do that. However, we've been operating like that for the past year, and I didn't hear that it's had an impact on the ability to conduct patrols in town. The difference is now he's at full staff, and he would therefore want to have a full array of another patrol vehicle and not have that conflict. Well, we need it for patrol today. We got one in the shop. We got this or that. In fact, it got to the point where the chief said, well, you never know, we might have an accident and lose 2. Well, we don't have spare cruisers for that. I made the comment that we have a good highway department, so we're going to keep the roads plowed. We're not going to have that happen. But that aside, the year before, I think, we even had 1 fewer vehicle, because these choruses and the other 2 vehicles were put out to scrap. So they actually got by before when the Tahoe came in last year, it didn't really replace a vehicle that was actively conducting patrols, so they got one there. I'm just not convinced that we need another. You know, we always say, well, the complement is 8 or whatever it might be. I question what the right complement is for what the allowance should be for vehicles. I don't question, and what Tom says on the Tahoe, we can, it's like the tide goes in and out on this Tahoe or Chargers, or, you know, depending on the flavor. I mean, we have a chief now who's doing a good job in town, and he's got a full complement of people. They're engaged, that's good, but things could change tomorrow. I mean, we could have another chief come in, you know, in a year, and he says, oh, we don't need these, we just need Chargers. So I don't always, I'm of the opinion that when a Charger gets to its end of life, that's when we put a Tahoe in there. You know, don't do it necessarily beforehand. So I just have multiple issues with this, and I think I can't support it right now.
No.
I thought we were, over the years, we had developed a plan to replace 5 vehicles, 1 each year. 5 frontline vehicles, so we always have no vehicle would be greater than 5 years old. Isn't that the case? And why would you object to continuing that now?
I'm just not convinced. You know, we can have a plan that we're gonna replace a vehicle every 5 years. I'm
Just
still.
the frontline vehicles, not the chief's car, not the others, just the frontline vehicles.
And we have 5 frontline vehicles over there right now.
And none of them is over 5 years old?
I don't know that I don't know that exactly. We have 4 Chargers, we have a Tahoe, and we have, I believe, the Explorer still.
The Explorer has really become the chief's car now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things to point out. We didn't retire vehicles, they retired themselves, let's be
Right.
clear.
That's correct.
They wouldn't pass inspection, they weren't safe to drive, right? So we retired 2 vehicles, and I don't know how they got lost over the last few years. Everybody kept talking about losing one. We lost 2. We lost the Crown Vic and we lost the Taurus. And they were like, oh my God, were they old and in rough shape.
I agree.
So I think, to Neil's point, that is my recollection as well. That was the chief's plan, and not dissimilar to other departments where they have a long-term plan. I think this is consistent with his plan on building the
So,
fleet.
I just need to understand Bill's concern. So even if we replace one of these frontline vehicles every year, and we only have 5 frontline vehicles, you're concerned he has too many other vehicles that are not necessary that we're
I
paying for?
guess I'm questioning what the right complement of vehicles is. How many vehicles do we need to conduct police operations in the town of Ware? And I would contend that 6 is sufficient. And now we're gonna add, when we add one this year, there's not one coming out. There's just one coming out that will be ghosted and will be primarily an administrative vehicle.
So we need 5 vehicles for the officers, we need 1 vehicle for the chief, and then a vehicle which I guess goes to the assistant chief or the lieutenant.
No,
And,
I don't believe the chief ever said that.
oh. So that's the administrative vehicle?
Well, administrative vehicle could be an officer having to run evidence down to storage.
With a
or-
frontline vehicle?
Well, that's what they're doing now. And they're still able to complete patrol operations in Ware, and have been for the last 2 years.
Okay?
I don't know, Neil, you tell me what you thought, or?
Yeah,
I want to just,
I'm confused. I had thought that we were all in agreement that every year we're going to replace 1 vehicle, and the vehicles are going to last for 5 years, and then they're going to be shunted off in some way, and that we were not building up a large fleet. It was 5 frontline vehicles, plus I thought 1 for the chief and a second one for something else, and that was it.
Animal controllers.
Yeah.
why don't we let Tom,
When Sean was here, we were looking at 7 total vehicles, with 5 being frontline. And the reason for the administrative vehicle is because they're reluctant to take a marked cruiser into other communities, because if something comes up, people don't look at what's on the vehicle. That's a Ware cop, so I can't call him. If there's an emergency situation, they flag down the vehicle, and we don't have any authority, so it puts them in a difficult spot. So they don't like to take a marked vehicle to court in Manchester or wherever, or for other administrative duties, they would like an unmarked vehicle for that. Now, I may be talking out of turn, but I'm pretty sure that's what I heard the chief say.
There was one other point that he made about being a target too, I think at one point. When you're in a marked
Right,
vehicle,
taking-
you could very well be.
Taking home a marked vehicle
Yeah.
puts his,
So, Bill, why do you have a problem with 7?
I don't think it's needed.
So you want 5 plus the chief and no administrative? Is that what you're saying?
I just disagree. It's a philosophical discussion. I mean, I don't have a problem with a marked vehicle
Okay.
doing the Ware Police Department business out of town. And I'm obviously in the minority on that, and that's fine. I'm just expressing that opinion.
We all agreed this would be a waste of time. We agreed all the time. Any other questions or comments? There we go. All right, we're gonna move to vote on Article 10, when Leah's ready.
Yep, go.
Tom?
yes.
James?
Yes.
Tom D's yes. Megan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
Liz?
No.
Neil?
Yes.
And Leah?
Yes.
Okay, I count 7 yeas, 2 nays. Motion to recommend Article 10 passes. And we'll go right into Article 11. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 for the purchase of 3 skate park features? Tax impact is 4/10 of a cent? No.
Yes, 4/10.
4/10 of a cent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow. Vocational high school. Motion. I'll make a motion to recommend.
Second.
I know I made a motion to recommend because I want to move it, but I'm actually gonna, I don't, Neil made a good point a couple years ago about fireworks in our town. And I would be one of those people that would donate to the fundraiser to do it. But his point, I think, was a lot of people want it in the community, and most communities do fundraisers, so why don't we do a fundraiser for it? And we did it successfully with fireworks. I think this is an example where we could do the same thing. I hate to be a bummer, because I love the kids and my kids,
Where is the skate park?
right in middle school.
Middle school.
That one?
Yeah.
They need $5,000 worth of equipment?
So there were some
Expensive.
structural issues where they had to dismantle and replace stuff, and they want to rebuild it back up. I don't philosophically disagree with having it. I think it's a great thing to have. I think a fundraiser is a perfect way to fund it. It's a matter of fiscal responsibility. So
I was gonna
that's
make
my
the same
point.
exact suggestion. I think it should be fundraised.
I disagree with you, if you don't mind my interrupting. Or even if you do.
I don't.
I'm just kidding, but I think that, Parks and Rec, that's an important piece of the community too. Whether you're talking about skateboard park or tennis court or Chase Park or Bolton Field. These are, Parks and Recreation are an important function of the town as well as the safety services. Not equal to the safety services, of course, but still, it's something that most communities provide, is some sort of a Parks and Recreation program, and I think this is just another piece of it. I do think that the town has to take a look at the placement if that's going to expand over there, because we had that discussion. It doesn't have anything to do with approving this, I'm in favor of it. But I do think we've got to go back to the drawing board as far as, the school really would like that moved from there, and I've wanted that for several years. So I think it's something that should be looked at if we're going to add new components. I'd be in favor of them, but I think in coordination with that with the town and Parks and Rec should look at if there are alternatives as far as where to place it. Nothing to do with approving this, though. I do recommend it.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot in the center of town space where we can put different things like
No.
this. I think that's where it is probably the best place for it, at least for now.
Bill?
I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it because they don't ask for a lot.
No, they don't.
And when I looked at what they spent last year, they actually exceeded, when you look at maintenance and repair items, I don't know what it was, the details were, I don't need it. All I know is they exceeded it. So they don't have enough money already in their budget to maintain that. And the only other place I thought of was government buildings fund, building skate park. I know that's a stretch, but that would be the only other funding source I could think of. So I said, why even bother? You know, they don't ask for much. I don't skateboard, I don't have any, but there are people who do, and so I support it.
I think most of us might look a little out of place over
Yeah.
there.
You never know, I was in the airport the other day, and there was a whole family of people that skateboarded down the terminal in front of us. We were like, what is going on?
Any other input, feedback? All right, I guess we'll go to a vote. Good, Leah? Tom?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
I'm no. Megan?
I'm a no with you, it's okay.
Oh, okay. Jeff?
Megan voted how?
No.
No.
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz? Neil?
No.
Leah, sorry, I knew I was forgetting someone.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got, is that, wow, that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 to 4. The motion to recommend passes.
What?
Is anybody opposed if I shut
Yeah.
the window fully?
Yes.
Oh, shut it.
No, I'm freezing. Yeah, Neil, I got,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
just to
you're
clarify.
correct.
He's right.
Correct.
Okay, cool. 5 to 4?
So on this one, I'll add the negative, the
Yeah, don't, I
Alright.
wouldn't, honestly,
say
I wouldn't go
fundra-
too
fundra-
crazy on this one.
other fundraising sources, as an
Yeah.
alternative. Okay, got it.
So, I'm sorry, I need a sheet to keep track of it. So we're on Article
12.
12. Okay, so, shall we adopt the provision, oh, wait, is this relative to us?
Well, it's a funding source.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, it took me a minute to realize which one it was. Thank you. Shall we adopt the provisions of RSA 3195C to restrict 50% of recyclable revenues to expenditures for the purpose of transfer station equipment and capital projects? Such revenues and expenditures shall be accounted for in a special revenue fund to be known as the Transfer Station Recyclable Special Revenue Fund, separate from the general fund. Any surplus in said fund shall not be deemed part of the general fund accumulated surplus and shall be expended only after a vote by the legislative body to appropriate a specific amount from said fund for a specific purpose related to the purpose of the fund or a source of revenue. There's no commas in there. Oh, my God.
There's no tax impact.
Oh, my God. Motion.
It's hard to say what the tax impact is.
We need a motion first, Neil. Do you want to make the motion?
No.
All right, I
I'll
will.
make a motion to recommend.
Okay, I'll second the motion, Article 12. The first question is Neil.
I oppose this, and the reason is the same reason that I oppose the special fund that we have for ambulances and other things. What a special fund does is take money away from the general fund, therefore increasing our taxes at the time the money doesn't go into the general fund, and puts it aside, and so when we see the article, there's no cost to it. So the voters are not really making a informed decision about whether or not something that is going to be paid for out of a fund and costs them nothing today, they having previously paid for it, and can't balance that against some other thing for which they have to pay now. So we're going to buy a $350,000 ambulance because it's free. But of course, we've already paid that because the revenue that went into that fund didn't go into the general fund, didn't lower taxes in the past. If you want the voters to have a reasonable basis for saying yes or no to something, you can't create these special funds. It just doesn't work because there's always a bias. And that's why the fire department loves its fund and why the transfer station will love its fund. I give Benji credit for saying that he only wanted this for 4 years, but I'll bet you this never ends because he wanted it to accumulate money because he feels the transfer station is 40 years out of date and needs to be upgraded. That's fine. And he wants to make sure he gets the equipment, and if he comes in with let's say a $400,000 request, people are going to say, wow, that's a lot of money. But now he's going to come in with a $400,000 request, which will be half price because over the past 4 years, he'll save $50,000 a year, $200,000. It's not, in my view, having special funds like this, and I'm not knocking this particular fund, but in general, makes the taxpayer's decision less informed and results in greater spending than would otherwise be the case. So I don't support this fund, not because the purpose is improper, I support the purpose, but because it's a very bad way to do a town budget.
I would like to live in a world where taxes would go down, or even stay the same. I mean, it's never gonna happen.
This has nothing to do with how much we pay in taxes.
Right, well, yes, it does. You're saying that it's not, that people are gonna pay for it overall if they put the money in the general fund and they didn't raise taxes by, they use that money for other things in the general fund instead of raising taxes in the future. Correct?
I think so. What I was trying to say, and maybe I didn't do it clearly, and I'm sorry if I didn't, was that every dollar that goes into this fund is a dollar that would have reduced our taxes. If you, let's assume that we get $100,000 a year of revenue from selling recyclables, okay? And we take $50,000 of that, according to this, and put it into the fund. That's $50,000 of revenue that we don't have, and the revenue that we do have is an offset against whatever we spend. So that first year, our taxes are $50,000 higher than they would have been if we didn't have this fund. That's what I'm saying. In year 4, we've accumulated $200,000 in the fund. We've paid taxes each year. Our taxes have been higher by $50,000 each of the 4 years, but now we have $200,000 in the fund. Benji comes along and says, I need $400,000 to do this, but wait, I have $200,000 in this fund, so you guys only have to pony up $200,000 now. And everybody says, wow, what a bargain. Not realizing that they had already spent and paid for the $200,000 that was in the fund. And so, in effect, like the selectmen are saying, gee, you can buy a $260,000 vehicle in Article whatever it is, and it costs you nothing. Well, of course it costs you something, because the $260,000 that's in surplus that they're taking out and spending for the truck is $260,000 that we don't see in tax reduction.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just think it's prudent planning for the future. I mean, I do this every day. People get monthly dues increases. I work a lot with associations, so this is how I'm, like condo associations, so this is how I'm associating this, just so it makes sense. They get increases in their monthly dues, but they still have to contribute to a reserve fund for capital improvements later down the line. So whether they pay for it now or later, they're still paying for it, and that's how I feel like this fund would work. That's just how I'm making this sense in my head. If I'm wrong or if it doesn't make sense, just.
Whichever one of you is first, sorry, I was focused.
I mean, I agree with both of you, really. I mean, Neil, what he's saying is true, but it is like saving for the future. So, you know, we used to have capital reserve funds all the time where we were actually putting money into them, saving up so that when the purchase came, it would be partially or wholly withdrawn from the capital reserve fund. And that concept kind of went away, but I think this is the same type of concept, even though it's a special revenue fund. The difference is that voters will have to vote for that piece of equipment, even though it's coming out of this fund.
Okay, gotcha.
But I think it took us 3 years to get a new skid steer for the transfer station. I mean, and that's a pretty necessary piece of equipment for moving stuff around there, and it took 3 years to get it. So, you know, if there was a fund, yes, the carrot would be there, because part or all of the money would be saved in advance for it, but I don't see that as a negative. That's where, what Neil said is right, it's just we are viewing it differently.
Now, if I may, now,
Yes.
I kind of like these different special revenue funds because it helps differentiate where our money's going, you know, how it's coming in, where it's going to. Everybody looks at the transfer station and says, well, transfer station is making money. Why don't they have money to fix up their stuff? Well, because it goes into the general fund, and it can get spent someplace else, versus now we have, okay, money's coming in, that's specific, it's coming in through the transfer station, it can be spent on the transfer station. I'd like to see that for our park and rec, so that money comes in for Chase Park. Now they have money for Chase Park, they don't have to come back and keep voting on something. It's something that they can do on a recurring basis. The other reason I like this is because, and then I'll say this up front, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but nobody likes our selectmen, so why do we want to give them more money to spend? Why don't we let the department heads spend the money directly?
12 years of my life gone down the drain.
Well, I mean, how many times you've been called pure concentrated evil? We don't want you to spend money, right?
I had so many compliments you could believe. Just a clarification, Jim, that is, the money that comes into the transfer station, just so everybody knows, I know this group basically does, there are two different pots there. When you go, you pay for throwing stuff into the demolition, or you pay for a tire, or you do something like that, that doesn't go into revenue. That is used to pay to get rid of that stuff. This is strictly the recycling, and this recycling profit does go in as a revenue, or in this case, 50% of it would go here. I just wanted to make sure that was clear, probably was for everybody, but, so when you pay for that tire, it's because they have to pay to get rid of that tire.
I happen to agree with actually everything, believe it or not, that you guys said. I think they're all valid points. I think it's a matter of what you believe is the best method. I personally like the idea of money that is earned within the department to stay within the department. I think for me, as a voter, I don't want to have to vote and approve every single thing. And, Neil's into that, and I get that, but I don't believe the larger percentage of our population wants to be involved with every single purchase in this town. And so that's why I would support this, because I think it's an opportunity to give our highly qualified director the right to use the money that they're earning from recycling to put it to good use, rather than through the channels.
Yeah, it still has to be voted on.
Yeah.
Right, but I
Yes.
understand, but it's so much, in my eyes, I believe it's cleaner. It's the department, the money that comes in, and then spending the money that comes in. I don't want to say that I love the special reserve funds, are relatively new, but it seems to work pretty good for the fire department. Neil, I don't laugh at you when you make statements. That's my opinion. I didn't laugh at your opinion.
Fair enough, Tom. I'm sorry.
Anybody else who has comments?
If I may add,
Bill's like, no!
Not getting laughed
I
at.
have no comment.
I would just add that I support everything that has been said with regards to the support for capital reserve funds, and I would argue that it would actually add more inefficiencies by removing, or continuing to do what we're doing, which is having everything go into the general fund, whereas by allowing the autonomy to occur within the transfer station, it would perhaps improve efficiencies and maximize time value, essentially.
All right, I'm gonna move to vote we're on Article 12. Leah? We'll start with Tom.
Aye.
James?
Yes.
Deasy, yes. Megan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Neil?
No.
Leah?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we've got 9 people, 8-1. Motion passes to recommend.
Am I back up?
Yeah, good, please. You can
All
hear
right.
my voice going away?
So we got Article 13. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $260,000 for the purpose of purchasing a new fully equipped 10-wheel plow truck for the highway department? The entire $260,000 will be withdrawn from the unreserved fund balance.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
Discussion?
Well, I'll say, I don't have a problem with the article. We shot this article down to be for last year, is one of the ones that we're trying to, when we got done, we looked at it and said, we're spending a lot of money here, and where can we make a cut? And we paused, I think was the term I used, for a year on the plow truck program, because we had gone a number of years without buying a plow truck, and now we're seeing the fruits of our lack of action. And they're rotting on a tree. They're rotting down at the highway department. So there is sufficient money in the unreserved fund. It just takes a vote to approve it, and that gets us back, restores what didn't get done last year. And so I support it.
James?
I'm not a particular fan of spending out of the, out of this reserve fund, but I think this is important enough to do it.
I agree.
Anybody else?
I'm actually on the fence for it. I feel like the town voted no last year for a plow truck, and they're pushing to get 2 plow trucks, because we know what the next item is. And, in Dale's point, like 260,000, they don't spend it. Hopefully the town gives it back to, to offset taxes. So then, in essence, they would get a plow truck for free. So, I mean, yeah, they would only get 1 plow truck, they wouldn't get 2 plow trucks. It doesn't sit right with me, because it's like saying, well, you voted no, but I'm gonna get it anyways.
The only thing I disagree with you is it's not free.
I know, but you know what I mean, like, it would offset, like, the yeah.
It's just a fine line here about who says no. I mean, I think that it shows the power of our votes. We recommended last year, because of the COVID crisis, because we thought the economy was down, to not, to skip a year on the purchases. And that recommendation went out, and the public followed that recommendation. And I believe that that is the power of this group, and if we had recommended yes, the plow truck would have passed. I have no doubt of that, COVID or no COVID. So I'm just saying that legally it wasn't no means no, like it was if we had gone out and bought one in the same calendar year with the fund money, the unreserved fund balance. That's not what was done. This is the following year, and it's being done only with the vote of the public. So it isn't no means no in the illegal sense of it. But I also think that truly we made that decision last year, and the public followed suit. And it could have gone the other way if we hadn't.
Can I just add that because I went and I looked at the 2021 results compared to what we voted on, because it had been discussed in prior years that the town voted the way we did. Yes, way we vote. Yes, the 10-wheel plow truck, they voted no on, but we voted no on the trash trailer. They voted yes on it. We voted yes on the bridge reconstruction. They voted no. What was that?
No, we
Am I
supported-
off?
Yeah, no, that was
Just the opposite on those last 2.
Was it? Hold on, let me look at it.
We voted for the trash trailer, about 13-0.
Oh, see, I wrote
There was
down
only
that we
one
know.
article we voted on that the town
Was
didn't
it?
vote
We
with
did
us.
we did not support the bridge article, because I remember now, because
Was?
Tom caught, I had the vote wrong when I first did it up, and you caught me
Yeah.
on it.
It was just
yeah.
one, Megan?
Okay, was it? Okay, so I apologize. I have it wrong. Okay, see, just ignore everything I just said. I should have asked and clarified that I had it in here right.
I just want to say I appreciate Tom's description and comments. I think that's well put, because I thought Megan made a really good point, but now you put it in perspective of this year. And I don't think it was a matter of legal, but I think that
No, it's not. It's
this
just-
is a new year, this is a new focus,
No.
and last year we had a different focus, of which
Well, it was
wasn't a great.
the overall money issue and the uncertainty of moving ahead, how much revenues were gonna come in. And we had to make a cut somewhere, and if you had to, based on the information we had last year, I'd make the same decision today, based on what we knew then, and not the uncertainty moving forward. I'd still vote the same way, given that. But this is, to me, just a acceptable way to catch up. In fact, our comments last year were, even though we voted 8-5 no, every comment we had in there, we're not voting no, but because we don't think it's needed, it's needed. And so it's more like supporting the article even though we voted against it.
I haven't heard anybody say or even question whether or not a truckload or 2 trucks are needed. I think that that is not a fact to be disputed, so to build on that. Oh, yeah, Neil.
I'm going to vote against Article 13, even though, because the tax impact is misleading. It's a 21-cent tax impact. And I will be voting in favor of Article 14. I think the selectmen are circumventing having the town people make these decisions by taking money out of the unreserved fund balance, because it looks as though it's free. And that just is bad governing. So I'm not going to support this article, but we do need 2 trucks, no question. I'll be supporting Article 14, and if Article 13 cost us $260,000 at 21 cents, I would have voted for it.
Okay. All right, we're going to move the vote for Article 13. Leah? Tom?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tom Dees, yes. Megan?
No.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz?
No.
Neil?
No.
Leah?
Yes.
3 noes. So we got 9, so 6 to 3. Motion to recommend passes for Article 13. Let's just do a quick time check here.
10:21. But, so we have the plow, the next plow truck, which probably get through quickly. Then we have the highway department, road construction, the master plan, cemetery improvements, and conservation land. So 2 of those are zeros, but
I'm sorry, can we just mark them on my sheet then? I get what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, we'll just mark the ones we're gonna address, which is this, this,
Yep,
right?
You're going down to 19, I believe. Well, oh no, then we also
there's
have,
more, yeah.
we also have the all veterans tax credit and the elderly exemption, if we're going to talk about those. I mean, they don't have a tax impact, but in the longevity, they will have a tax impact.
Can't imagine that's gonna be a long decision. It's talking $300, $500.
Yeah, I know.
I think we can trudge through and make this happen.
I'm thinking kind of the same thing.
I'm willing to do so. I think that, my gut's telling me we should.
That's,
Okay. What I would say is, if we need a quick bio break, I've never said this, but just tell me and we'll just recess if we gotta do that. Hopefully we won't be here much longer. So we'll go right into, I'm sorry, we're on 14.
correct.
Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $260,000 to be added to the previously established highway, truck, and equipment replacement capital reserve fund for the purpose of purchasing 2 fully equipped 10-wheel plow trucks?
A new, not
Excuse
two.
me.
Just one.
A new,
New. You said 2.
yeah, no,
A new.
my mouth is just not working. A new fully equipped 10-wheel plow truck for the highway department. Tax impact's 21 cents. I will make a motion to recommend Article 14.
Second.
We'll just,
I would say,
James.
in lieu of our discussion we just had, we should go right ahead with the vote.
Agreed.
Okay.
Hold
So-
on now. Who made the original motion? Tom. And the second, I heard 2 people second.
Excuse James.
Okay.
Fine.
Let me know when you're good, Leah.
See if I show up next Wednesday night. it'll be-
Tom?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tom Dees, yes. Megan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Motion passes to recommend 9 to 0. Moving on to Article 15. Thank you, Tom. Good idea. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $95,000 to be added to the previously established highway, truck, and capital reserve fund for the purpose of replacing 1 fully equipped medium-duty highway vehicle? The tax impact is 8 cents. I will make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Seconded by Jeff. Want to speak to this?
I'll speak. With all the money that we're spending this year, like everything that we've voted yes for and everything like that, and then Benji saying that they've used this truck maybe like 3 times in the last 4 or 5 years, I'm like, do we really need it?
This is a truck that burnt up.
I know it's a truck that burned up, I'm just saying, but if they haven't used
No,
it,
I heard the audience muttering the same thing I was thinking,
what was it?
that the truck burnt up.
Yeah, I know it
Can't
did.
use it
but-
when it's burnt up.
No, we can't use it at all, so.
I know, but he said that they've maybe been able to use it like 3 times. That's why I was
Oh.
kind of like,
This year, not in the last 3 quarters.
It was in pieces for a while, so.
I know.
This is, my understanding was this is a regular, in-service vehicle, and the reason it hasn't been used is because it's continually broken and they can't get the right parts. This is one I looked at.
well, and I know, but I thought that he said it was like 3 times in the last few years that they've been able to use it.
Because of the,
I know, well, I get that,
Oh,
but they
yeah,
may
no.
do without it.
So what's been the impact?
Yeah.
Megan's saying is what's been the impact
What's been
of
the
not
impact
having
that
it in
they may
service?
do without it?
Have we really?
I think it's been used far more than that. I think it's been used on a pretty regular basis. It's only been fairly recently that it's been.
I don't know, I think that's what he
Rusticated.
said, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, we have our.
well, if we really have a sticking point here, look, like, I don't want to take all night. Let's just, if we're going to ask the question, let's just ask the question.
It's been this year.
Benji,
It's been this year.
I need you to mic though. Yeah, so the question, we'll try and go straightforward. If that truck were not disabled, what's the, I think the capacity, I mean, what's the use of that
If you
truck?
don't have the
Or
truck,
would it
what's
have
the-
been?
yeah.
Like, what's the impact of not having it?
So, the guy that's supposed to drive that truck drives my pickup that I'm supposed to drive, and just plows, doesn't have the salting capability. So, it's just a longer lag time getting the salt and sanding done. That truck could be doing 2 similar trucks. One has a little road route up off some of these little tiny dirt road stuff that are hard to get around, big truck. I put one of them on one of them routes, and I put the other one doing the parking lots. And, so one of those routes doesn't have a truck that has ability to salt and sand. So I've been having my pickup, and that red Dodge that you guys all thought was the town's is mine, I drive around in. And I haven't even put in for mileage until this week. I put in a few miles. But that's how I've been patrolling roads this winter, is in my pickup. Personal pickup.
Gotcha, I get you.
So the net impact is personal use vehicle,
Without-
and
yeah.
longer, did I hear correctly, longer route times, and,
Because there's no sander in the pickup, it is work pickup.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a good question.
I'm
You
just
good with
trying to
that?
figure out,
Yeah.
it's a big increase, that's all.
Anybody else? All right, we're gonna move to vote. So we're on Article, 15, I lost my place here. Leah, you good?
Yeah.
We'll start with Tom?
Yep.
James?
Yes.
Tom Deasy, yes. Megan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz? Neil?
Yes.
And Leah?
Yes.
Motion to recommend passes 9-0. I thought you were gonna give me the, can you skip over me like my family does at the restaurant when they're not ready?
I almost did.
Can you skip over me?
I almost asked, can I go last?
All right, can you do me a favor, can you read the next one clearly?
Yeah,
I
you
can't
took
even
over my
speak.
page anyways, that's fine. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $575,000 for road reconstruction and resurfacing of roads with up to $280,902 anticipated to be received from the State of New Hampshire Highway Block Grant, and the remaining balance of $294,098 to be raised by taxation and added to the previously established Road Reconstruction Capital Reserve Fund as a tax impact of 23 cents.
Make a motion to recommend.
Second.
And this is one that we are so familiar with. Do we really have to discuss it?
Not at all.
Go
I don't
right to
think
the
so.
vote.
Nope.
Okay, so we are going to vote.
And the blurb has already been written.
Yep.
That's a good point.
I won't use last year's, I'll use one from 2 years ago.
There you go, that's a good idea.
The blurb has already been written.
So we'll start with Tom.
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tom Dees, yes. Megan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
9-0, motion to recommend passes. Moving on to 17. Am I doing that one?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I
It's up to you.
zoned out for a second. 17.
Thank you, Benji.
To see if the town will vote to establish a master plan update capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35-1, to begin funding the update of the master plan and to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be placed in this fund. Further, to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from said fund. Estimated tax impact is 2 cents.
Move to recommend.
Second.
I think we've said this before, but the master plan is way overdue as far as revision. Recommendations are to do it every 10 years, and it was 2005. So I'm in favor of it.
Neil?
It can wait another few years.
You can do it twice a,
The idea of spending 60,000, this is 20 times 3, for a master plan, I think is totally disproportionate to the benefit that the town will get from that master plan. I'm not going to support this, aside from the fact there's another fund being created. Although this one is a little different because this one, unlike the transfer station fund where the revenue is never really seen by the taxpayers, this one is an actual expenditure of money that we know is going for a particular purpose and is just being put in a savings account. But still, we can do without this for a few years.
Okay.
Would this be the first, if we vote against this, would this be the first one we've turned down?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm in agreement with Neil, being part of a master plan committee right now at another organization and dealing with people who are doing the master plan and everything. I think we can wait a couple of years.
I think that where our town is growing the way that it is, that a master plan update would be very appropriate.
Anyone else? Okay. So we're going to go to a vote on 17. Tom?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
I'm going to abstain. Megan? No. Jeff?
No.
Bill?
No.
Liz?
Yes.
Neil?
No.
Leah?
Do you want the Jeopardy music?
I've lost on
no.
Okay, so
I was
the
deciding whether I wanted an
gonna-
appetizer or
I
not.
was gonna do that.
second,
I was gonna put a cue card up.
5, 2, so, sorry, oh, wow, I just did something really funny. 1, 2, 3, so, 5 to not recommend, 3 to recommend, 1 abstain, so that means the motion to recommend has not passed. And now we make a motion to not recommend Article 17. So let's just stop. We always stop here to make sure, because I got confused the first time. We're voting to not recommend. So if you do not want to recommend this, your response is a yes. Okay? First time they said it to me, I was like, what?
You need a second?
Yeah, so, yes, just a second. So, we're gonna start, let me, if I can start my, so 17, not recommend. Okay. We're gonna start with Tom, the motion to not recommend, yay or nay?
I know.
So that's a
Hold
no.
on.
Okay?
Okay, go ahead.
James?
No.
Okay, wait a minute.
Maybe say no, not
Okay, I'm
No
just.
to not
it's
recommend.
We can go
late.
slow, because
You have to dumb it way down for me now. So
so
Tom, what was your vote? I'm sorry.
I haven't voted yet.
No, the other Tom.
Evil Tom.
My vote was no,
No, okay, thank you.
which is confusing.
Yes.
I understand. Okay,
James is no.
uh-huh.
I'm still going to abstain, to be consistent.
I am
Megan?
a yes to not recommending.
Nicely put. Jeff?
I am a yes to not recommending.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz?
No.
Neil?
Yes,
Leah?
Oh, no, I'm confused.
vote yes if you want to be
Yes.
consistent.
Yes to
Yeah.
not recommend. Okay, so let 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5. And I just want to make sure it's still the same. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the motion to not recommend has passed by 5 to 3 and 1 abstain.
Correct.
Wow, we got through that. That's it.
All right.
Yeah, well, like, why do I keep doing that?
Leah,
doesn't
am
make
I
any
okay
sense.
to do Article 18?
Yep.
You can, I'm sorry.
Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 for cemetery improvements and fund this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of said sum from cemetery trust funds Cypress account?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Discussion?
I move we go right to a vote.
Move it.
I gotta finish writing your names out again. I ran out of space. Give me just a second. Sorry. And yes, we'll go right into the vote here. If Leah is ready.
I am ready this time.
All right, we'll start with Tom.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Tom Dees, yes. Megan.
Yes.
Yes.
Jeff, yeah. Bill.
Yes.
Liz.
Yes.
Neil.
Yes,
Leah.
Yes.
Okay, motion to recommend is passed, 9 to 0.
I
Move
can
to
keep reading, Tom. It's okay.
19. You good?
I'm good. 19, shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 to allow the Conservation Commission to secure contracted services with a licensed forester for forestry services, including plan updates, harvest layout, harvest management, forest inventory, invasive species control, and other related services, and to allow the Conservation Commission to contract or purchase materials or services for maintenance and upkeep of town forests, and fund this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of that sum from the town forest account. Estimated tax impact is 0.
A motion to recommend.
Second.
This is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is pretty consistent with what we see every year, comes out of the funds. There really is no impact. Okay. Anybody comments? We'll move this to a vote. When you're ready, Leah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start with Tom.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Tom Dees, yes. Megan.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Yes.
Bill. Liz.
Yes.
Neil.
yes,
Leah. Motion to recommend passes 9 to 0. Moving on to 20. I'm sorry, not 20, excuse me.
21.
21, my bad. Do you want me to do this one?
I can do it, it's
Okay.
fine. 21. Shall the town adopt the provisions of RSA 7228B, all veterans tax credit? If adopted, the credit will be available to any resident or the spouse or surviving spouse of any resident who, 1, served not less than 90 days on active service in the armed forces of the United States and was honorably discharged, or an officer honorably separated from service is not eligible for receiving a credit under RSA 7228 or RSA 7235. If adopted, the credit granted will be $500, the same as the veteran's tax credit adopted by the town under RSA 7228.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
Who was the second?
Me, James.
Okay, I heard two, so.
I wasn't sure either.
I'm just, unless anybody's got a lot of, yeah.
No, we really don't know the financial impact of it because
Yeah.
we don't know how many are out there. However, speaking as a veteran who currently gets the credit, I think that anybody who signs up and serves should get the credit because when they sign up, I get it because I wasn't in a war zone, but I was serving during one of those. So anybody else who signs up, they sign up for what's the unknown of what's gonna happen, so they put themselves at risk, and they should get the same benefit that I do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we should put in our comments.
This closes a loophole that excludes some
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct, yes.
Correct, who should not be excluded, because they signed up.
Right.
Thank you for
And
serving.
our
I didn't know you were a
comments,
veteran.
I can write up comments to say
But
that.
it-
Go ahead.
Isn't it the case that this is now given to people who actually were in a war zone? Veterans who actually fought?
No, it's, I didn't fight, I was in the Coast Guard.
They were part of certain conflicts.
Yeah,
You have
Yeah,
to,
you-
right, you
yeah.
have to be active service during a particular conflict. You don't have to be in the war
in the
zone.
war zone.
Right.
You're
That's
on
what it
active
is
duty.
now.
That's right.
Correct.
And what would this make it?
All veterans.
Anybody who served, even if there was no, if I served from forget these, if I served when nothing was going on in the world, and I served my 2-year hitch and I got out, and we didn't have people fighting in Afghanistan or whatever, I don't get it now, but I would get it. Because when I signed up, I don't know what I was, it's the unknown. I mean, I could have been deployed, something could happen the day after I signed up, and they took the same risks that I did when I signed up.
The
Or you
luck of the
weren't in a
draw, they
conflict, but you were
didn't.
still
Right.
Got it.
risking
Thank
your
you.
life.
All right, I'm ready to go to a vote. Yep. So for Article 21, just to reiterate, Leah, you good?
Yep.
Tom?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tom D's yes. Megan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz? Neil?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Motion to recommend passes 9-0. I think, is this our last one?
I
22?
believe so. 22, elderly exemption. Oh, there's a long one. All right. Shall the town modify the provisions of RSA 7239A for elderly exemption from property tax in the town of Ware based on assessed value for qualified taxpayers to be as followed? For a person of 65 years of age up to 75 years of age, increase the exemption from 70,000 to 90,000. For a person 75 years of age up to 80 years of age, increase the exemption from 90,000 to 120,000. For a person 80 years or older, increase the exemption from 300,000 to 400,000. To qualify, the person must have been a New Hampshire resident for at least 3 consecutive years, own the real estate individually or jointly, or if the real estate is owned by such person's spouse, they must have been married to each other for at least 5 consecutive years. In addition, the taxpayer must have a net income of not more than $33,000, or if married, a combined net income of less than $44,000, and own net assets not in excess of $80,000, excluding the value of the person's residency.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
Whoever.
I'm gonna give this one to Meg.
Oh, jeez.
I will have to make a correction on the floor, because you can't be 65 to 75 and then be 75 to.
Yeah,
You have to be
it was-
65 to 74.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have to make that on the floor,
Okay.
so when you think about that, talk about it, so you don't have to come back here for one little change.
Or the 80 years of age, and then it says, yeah, or 80, yeah.
So it should be 81. So just before debate, on that topic, this is going to be correct, and we'll move forward with the assumption that each will be corrected by the next year, which is 81 / whatever the next year is appropriate, okay? I just want to make sure everybody agrees to that before we debate. And so, Neil?
What is it now?
So it's 70 and it's going up to 90 for 65 to 75. 75 to 80, it's 90 and it's
Sorry,
going.
I asked the question incorrectly, that's here. What I meant is, why were these numbers, why was it raised from 70 to 90 rather than 70 to 75 or 70 to 200? What was the,
I think because the tax rate went up 40%.
but these, not all
Not
of
the
these
tax
went
rate,
up
the
40.
assessed value.
Assessed value increases.
But not all of these went up by that same percentage.
I don't think we asked them that.
I don't believe we discussed the logic behind the incremental increases at each level.
Well, I just was curious to know if this was related to, as Megan said, the increase in the assessed value or something
Well, that was
else.
shared. I'm sorry, Neil, what I meant to say was that was shared, I concur, but we didn't get into the specifics on how the calculations were done, is the answer.
Do we know what the current net income is? Current married income? That doesn't say here.
Well, let's
Is
look
it
at it again. It
changing or
says
is it
40,
same?
doesn't it say 44,000?
33, is single and 44 is married.
It says it right in the article, Neil.
But
No, 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 but
he's
what is it
asking, is
now?
it changing? What is it now? Is it the same now?
I'm leaving the income levels now.
The income levels are the same?
income level is alone.
Okay.
We didn't change the income level.
We did not change the income level. Is that what you,
That's not the intent.
thank you.
So the income level will stay the same,
And the asset stays the same?
Yes.
and the assets stay the same.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Discussion? All right, we're going to vote. Last article. I was just waiting for Leah, sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
Tom?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tom D's yes. Megan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Liz? Neil?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Motion to recommend passes 8-1. So we are done with voting. At least to the best of my knowledge.
Well, so right now, we have voted for, the impact on a 350,000 home is $775.55.
What percentage increase is that? We know?
It is
I will tell you.
14.9?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think I already had it written
Yeah.
down.
I believe that is what I have based off the last year's
So
tax.
our recommendations means everyone's property taxes are going up almost 15%? Is that what you're saying? Thank you.
And the boilerplate that I'll put, that front end loads the recommendations, the standard lead-in language, I'll make sure I'm gonna put that the revenues that are projected are conservative, as they were last year. And that this does not include the impact of state and county taxes are not included in this. We don't know where those are going, or they pretty much are lower levels anyway. And that there's still I think I put in there last year, there's still the opportunity at the end of the year where the selectmen and the school districts will return theirs unused, and the selectmen can make a provision to try and stabilize the tax rate, which was done this last year. Between Stark and Ware schools, they both kicked back to the Department of Revenue, which comes back to when they set the tax rate, comes back to Naomi. That was over 500,000 each, and the town, I believe, kicked back 600,000. So you had like 1.6 million that came back to help offset and stabilize the tax rate that we were concerned would go up last year. And it would have gone up if that hadn't been done. So I will put something in there to that effect that helps temper. What I'm saying is your taxes aren't necessarily going up. The worst case scenario, your taxes are gonna go up 14.9%. But, go ahead.
I just want to make it clear that I want to make sure I understand this 14.9%. This has nothing to do with revenue. This is a comparison of
What we paid last year.
I'm sorry?
What we paid last year is what we're paying this year.
Right, so
we
whether the
anticipate.
revenue goes up or down doesn't affect the fact that we're increasing the taxes by 15%. We may find that the actual dollars we have to pay is less
Yeah.
because we have more revenue, but we still have a 15% increase.
But isn't that based on the final figure after those revenue deductions were taken this last year? In other words, it's based on the tax rate after the school and the town gave back money?
Yeah, it's based on what we actually paid.
Yes.
Oh, then you have to make the same accommodation now, to Tom's point.
Yeah, but the problem is that because, see, I took it based off of what we actually paid because the assessed value has gone up, so like to do it differently is just the simplest way to take it off of what we paid this past year. I mean, I could find out from Beth, like, what it would be without those credits, I mean, or how could I do it? I could probably add it in, because Jackie sent me what they gave, the money that they returned, or she sent me what they returned from where.
Maybe the question, it would be easier this year because of the revaluation. Instead of talking about the percentage increase in taxes and how much more it's going to be on a $350,000 home, we simply said, our spending has gone up by X percent, having nothing to do with revenues, which may offset the tax rate, and having nothing to do with the tax rate itself, which is what we usually do. But this is a strange,
Yes,
one out of
very
every 5 years is strange because the town gets totally reassessed. That makes it difficult for people because everybody's used to seeing dollars for the $250,000 or $350,000 house, but that may, I mean, the 14% may be misleading. That's my point.
That's a good point, Neil.
It is a good point. And I mean, I can work with,
Think about it and come up with
Chris
something.
and Beth to see if we can't come up with a better way of, yeah.
So, assuming you got at least a good starter, and thank you again for starting these blurbs for us. Appreciate that.
I haven't presented to you yet.
Well, I'm
so
gonna thank you
don't
now, and then
Don't thank me.
I'll take it back later. You're at least doing the work. Whether I agree with your work is different. I still appreciate that you're doing the work.
It means Tom doesn't have to do it.
I don't have time. I wish I.
I make time.
So, we are meeting,
Next Thursday?
next Thursday, which is I'm sorry?
Wednesday the second.
I'm sorry, Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday next week?
That's why I get to listen to Bill. That's Wednesday 2nd. On Thursday, I'll be in, somewhere else.
Wednesday the 2nd.
Yeah.
So you'll be here next Monday?
I will be here next
Yeah,
Wednesday.
he kept saying Tuesday. He was leaving Tuesday.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did.
said Tuesday.
Well, technically, you know what? Technically, I'm on vacation Wednesday, but not from the Finance Committee.
Wednesday the 2nd. Let me make
Run
sure.
between
What time on
that.
Wednesday?
7 o'clock.
So I need to get stuff, I need to get at least draft stuff emailed to all you folks by, when?
Over the weekend, Sunday night?
So,
You're gonna have Monday, just sit around, Sunday,
about-
Saturday,
I'd like
just
to-
sit
I'd like
around.
to
'cause
get-
it's snow, right?
nobody's going
Monday
anywhere
night.
Saturday.
No, nobody's
When I
going.
get Monday night, Sunday I plan on being in Vermont watching my granddaughter play basketball.
Yeah, no problem, Monday's work.
Yeah, so I think what you're asking is giving us 2 days to review it enough,
Yep.
and I think that is.
More than enough.
Absolutely.
Yes. I would like to ask one question of Naomi when we were talking about dates. What was the date that we're backing into it? And if we're gonna have our blurbs done, or with minor corrections by Thursday or Friday, next Thursday or Friday, does that work within
Yeah.
what you have?
Well, so then what happens is then you're gonna need copies for
For
deliberative
deliberative,
session.
yeah.
Right.
So I'll make the different colors, 3 different colors, somebody will have to pick them up. I mean, I could bring the town ones, but it's the ones after that if something changes.
Uh-huh.
If something changes and you guys have to re-meet, I'm leaving from deliberative session and won't be back till the following Saturday. We're gonna go ride snowmobiles up in the north.
Make sure you don't hit Tom.
So we're going to Maine, we're going up so we can.
Completely different
look at
state.
the St. John River. We can't go in
So if that happens and there are changes, how do we go about it?
And we can talk about it next week, it's late. Just, I need to have it in my inbox by the 19th, because I have to come home Saturday, do the mailer Sunday, and drive to the printer Monday. So I have to have it in my inbox on by the 18th.
You're
Okay,
gonna have to
so,
have somebody else to let us into be here that week, that's what she's saying.
yeah, if we have to have a meeting, it would be the week of the 14th, if we have to readdress,
Right, and that's
revisit any
the plan
articles.
After both of your, 3 of your deliberative sessions, if there's a change,
Yep,
if there's not a change,
A
you
material
guys just have together if there's been an amendment on the floor.
okay, yep.
Tom, if you call a meeting at the deliberative session, so that in addition to being at the deliberative session, we're noticed for a meeting, if something minor or something that we can agree on comes up at deliberative session, we could actually make a decision then, because we're noticed and have an official meeting, and we wouldn't have to come back again. It just,
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it, and
you may
I,
not want to use it, but it's there as an option.
Does everybody go?
yeah, here's my perspective on that. Not everybody can go because of family obligations. If everybody said they were gonna go, or intends to go,
Got
then
it.
I have zero issue posting that there would be a meeting. But, in my experience, people would like to be there and can't always. And I think
When is it? What's the date?
it's the 12th,
Well, there's the
12th.
9th, the 11th, and the 12th.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean-
so the 9th is a Wednesday night is where the 11th is a Friday night, that's John Stark, and then the 12th is in the morning, and that's the town.
And then, if I'm gonna be at all the deliberatives, right? So that we're gonna be there on Wednesday night and then Friday night and then the town meeting, God, we've been in there till 7
Pretty
o'clock.
hard.
and
Thank you to move it along.
What's that?
I have to drive 6 hours after to go find my hotel.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know that I, Neil, I appreciate the idea. I think that, having, even if we have to revisit something and it's
You make a good point, Tom.
30-minute video, a 30-minute meeting, then
agree.
let's do
Yeah.
that. Okay, so, meeting adjourned. It's 10:55.